Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the Wrestle Addict Radio Network.
Hey, what's up, you guys? What is going on, everybody?
What up, fam?
Hey, it's me.
What up, Oozes?
What's up, guys? This is the Monday Night Delight.
Are you looking for a network that brings you all things pro wrestling? Then look no further. Wrestle Addict Radio brings you a varied source of wrestling content.
What's going on, guys? This is Willie T.
My name is Mr. Fretz.
This is your resident Smart Slayer.
Search for Wrestle Addict Radio on all major podcast platforms and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode.
Buzz, guys. My name is Kate Murphy of the Kings of the Ring podcast, and you are listening.
And you're listening. And you're listening.
And you are listening.
And you are listening.
Get ready for a war, because you're listening.
Come join the war each and every week as we fight to keep wrestling real.
What's up, everybody? This is King Ricky Rose, and you are listening to Wrestle Addict Radio.
Legs are tied, these hands are broken. Alone I try, with words unspoken. Silent cry, my breath is frozen. With blinded eyes, I fear myself. It's burning down, it's
What up,
burning
fam?
high.
It's your boy, JC Bones of the Fourth Wall WrestleCast, and you are listening to Wrestle Addict Radio. What up, fam? It's your boy, JC Bones, the host of the Fourth Wall WrestleCast, and you are making a change because you're listening to the Game Changer podcast, only on Wrestle Addict Radio.
Just one step forward, won't lose my mind. I'm here to stay. It's burning down, it's burning high. When ashes fall, the legends rise. We burn it out, no matter what.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a wonderful week to be a fan of the Wrestle Addict Radio Network. I am NateFNGreat. Welcome to the Game Changer podcast, and I'm very proud to be joined here by my favorite Canadian and yours, the one and only Mr. Fretz. Mr. Fretz, how you doing, my good sir?
Time to drink a little bit of the bubbly.
Oh my gosh.
This podcast brought to you by Public Sparkling Water. Please pay for my student loans.
And
Yes,
honestly, guys, Mr. Fretz here, to having a little bit of the bubbly. I should definitely get you to your plugs. By all means, continue away, my good sir.
My apologies, sir. The classic, polite Canadian interrupting. How ironic. It's like rain. A little bit of butt rock. That's for you, Ant. So, yes, it is me. It is Mr. Fretz, the Prime Minister of Wrestle Addict Radio, your favorite Canadian, your resident Maple Leafs fan. The game is tied against Vegas 1-1. Fingers are crossed. Yes, and it is also your Wrestle Hub Award nominated Game Changer podcast, and for some reason, someone nominated the Fretzlemania podcast. So, from the bottom of my heart, and I'm damn sure Nate's, thank you for those who nominated us. And now, just like our election up here in Canada, with Justin Trudeau being reelected, and I think there's something going on in the States, I don't know. Get your ass out there and vote. Go to the Wrestle Hub on Twitter. Check everyone on Wrestle Addict Radio has a pinned tweet of some kind, and I think we're up for Best Duo, Newcomer. Fretzlemania is up for Most Informative. Bruce, is this a rib? Yeah, it's mind-boggling.
It
I
really is.
was really surprised to see it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud to announce that we, along with two other shows on the Wrestle Addict Radio Network, are nominated for 6 different nominations. Mr. Fretz did mention the fact that we got Best Duo, we got Most Comedic, we got Best Solo Deal, because I actually read that and I thought to myself, wait, why am I involved in it? That's right, because I did do this by myself for a while, so it was one of those things where it's like, nah, maybe that's a good idea, maybe it's not. You know what? Either way, I know that I'm not winning that. If anybody deserves to win that, honestly, it is indeed the one and only man from Not Your Mama's Soap Opera, Mr. Jeff Famaccio. Shout out to you, dude. Shout out to everybody on Wrestle Addict Radio.
We're all up for awards, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. For Man's a Gift of Podcast and Jeff Famaccio, Not Your Mama's Soap Opera, I believe they're both up for 2. And for us here at the Game Changer Podcast, as well as the Fourth Wall WrestleCast and the Kings of the Rings Podcast, are nominated for 6 nominations, including Kings of the Ring Podcast. Congratulations to you guys for Podcast of the Year. The top, I believe, 10 to 20 podcasts that got the most votes and most nominations, guys, were the ones that got it. So unfortunately, we came up short this year, but that just means we got more motivation going into next year. And also, Wrestle Addict Radio got a couple awards, including Best Brand. So if you love this brand, definitely nominate the Wrestle Addict Radio and vote for them on the Wrestle Hub site. Oh gosh, it's just really exciting. Honestly, it took a while before it kind of just dwelled on the fact that it's like, wow, a year ago I was just listening in and we heard, Rant with Ant winning Podcast of the Year, who ironically enough, Mr. Ant is the host, the master of ceremonies for this podcast award show. So got to give the guy a shout out. And we both said it to him. Without him, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. So definitely all the love, all the support, all the shout out goes to the Rant Fathers and the Rant Fathers family. We love you guys. You do a fantastic job. And I also want to do this little cheap plug here. On an upcoming episode of the Rant, they are actually going to be having a special guest, none other than the one and only Mr. Philium. You might remember him.
Isn't that... Yep, that is part of... I'm going to plug some other people here after this, but Mance, he's good brother Mance, Gift of Podcast. I think he's having kind of a rough go. I mean, if you've been listening to his Gift of Podcast lately, it's he needs a little break. And, Mance, if you're hearing this, I love you a lot. You're a consummate professional, and I think you're a very good role model for all of us here. The Reverend Mance himself. His gift of podcast, I forget who's hosting it this coming week, but I believe it's someone that was connected with the former Gift of Podcast.
Oh.
And after that is sort of a Rant with Ant reunion because it's Ant and Phil. Wow. And I have a couple of plugs I want to get out of the way here. Just before you called me, I was tuning into about a few seconds of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. He does a live thing every Thursday night at about 9 Eastern. Our chat there, he's a fellow Canadian. He's got a great group chat up in here on his live feeds. He's really funny. I think he is somewhat connected with Fightful. And who's the other guy in Fightful? I can't think. Or Smart? No, it might be Smart to Death. I forget. It's one of those. But Warren Hayes is up for Solo of the Year, and so is our boy Smash This Podcast, J-Bone. So all across the board there's some stiff competition. Like you and I, we're up against like Cultaholic and a bunch of other people. Trio have it's all good, and I like that it's fun. It's not like this is the Royal Rumble and we're gonna go out and toss each other over the top rope or heel turn on each other. It's they say wrestling is for everyone. # wrestling community and all that jazz. It's cool. It's cool.
It really is, and I will say this, that there were a couple other podcasts that were... one of the things I will say that during the nomination episode that Ant kind of pointed out was that there's a lot of podcasts that were already established and already featured a lot of heavy followings. The ENC podcast was nominated. Talk is Jericho was nominated. So many other podcasts that were nominated and were superstar based were nominated. And I will say this, you guys, as much as I respect and admire those people, please don't vote for them. Vote for the people who have been working hard for so long. And honestly, you guys, let's be honest, they're already famous enough. Let's give them a break and let's actually have somebody else in the limelight. I'm just saying. That's my Shane Helms impression.
Stand back.
Yeah, okay, so I think we could stop with the whole, marking out about everything right there. Again, we've talked about, the voting process. If you don't know where that is, definitely look in the link here for this podcast. It will be up and it will be running. For those of you that want to nominate for, want to vote for Kings of the Rings, by all means, do that. Vote for Fourth Wall. Vote for Nacho Mamas. Vote for the Gift of Podcast. But if you really want to be on my good side, vote for Game Changer. Let's take over at least 3 of them. If we can, or I'm even asking for just one. I will even take one. I will take one victory. That's all I need. And other than the duo of the year, I think the one I would really love to have win would be the interview I had with Ben McCoy earlier this year. Definitely, it's one of the best interviews I think that I've done. It's a great interview about a guy who has definitely put so much into the wrestling business. Definitely check it out, and definitely check out Frontline Pro, which I will be in attendance this weekend, and it's going to be a fun show, so hooray for that. It's also on the same night that AEW Full Gear is happening, so we'll definitely do a little quick prediction deal for that. But first, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that's the... boy, hi. You know what? I'm going to just prolong that just a little bit, because the first song that actually played on here was by Godsmack, When Legends Rise. It was the theme song for Crown Jewel. Now I'm making it officially the theme song, the kickoff theme song for the Game Changer podcast. So it's kind of an executive decision, but you know something? It's a fun theme song. I kind of like it, and if I do get into the wrestling business, this is the theme song that I would want. Now, that being said, I did mention Crown Jewel. Took place this past Thursday. And, honestly, from what I've seen, it was probably the best Saudi Arabia show that they had. But there was a lot of drama behind the scenes. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. I just want to do a quick recap of what went down at the Crown Jewel event. We had Lesnar defeating Cain Velasquez in a matter of a couple minutes, which I think a lot of people appreciated. Because it was kind of a mercy kill when it came to that matchup. The OC won the best tag team in the World Cup. Too sweet. Whoop, whoop. That was awesome.
Thanks, Gordon. Sorry, I just moved here.
Mansoor defeated Cesaro in what was honestly match of the night. And honestly, why is this guy not signed with WWE? He definitely deserves so much.
He is. He's technically signed with NXT, and I think he's just still polishing his craft in the Performance Center. He's in career mode in 2K20, except he's not skipping forwards and backwards in time. That career mode is a mess, man. It's so weird.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of shit that's going on there, but we could definitely dissect that a little bit in a future episode. Had Tyson Fury defeat Braun Strowman by countout, moving the fuck along. AJ Styles defeating Alberto Carrillo once again for the United States Championship. We had Team Hogan reigning supreme over Team Flair. Yeah, that's kind of whatever. We had the first ever women's matchup in Saudi Arabia, which was Natalya versus Lacey Evans. You could say what you want about that, but honestly, you guys, the fact that they were even put on the card says a lot. There were a lot of women who were enjoying it. Some of the men were even getting involved with this. This was a great matchup. Natalya defeated Lacey Evans by submission, and in the end, they shared an embrace and just really got emotional because this was a big deal for them. This was just something that was historic, and these two women definitely have earned it. Some people might say, well, what about Becky? What about Sasha? For me, it's like they put two people out there. It's fine. I'm not going to bitch about it. I'm not going to complain about it. I originally was, but then I'm like, you know what? This is still a big step for them. Maybe next time around, if they do another show, they will do a women's championship matchup. And of course, the main event, we had The Fiend taking the Fruit Roll-Up Championship off of Seth Rollins. Thank God. It's one of those things where I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with this. Firefly Funhouse gets a new toy. It's cool.
Yeah, I watched most of the show. It was just after you and I recorded last Thursday. I was, it was live on air. I was saying, "Oh yeah, Cain Velasquez just got squashed," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want to see that." But after I got home from work and I saw all the GIFs and all the stuff from Crown Jewel and the people positively reacting to it, I sat down and I watched it. And, I fast-forwarded. I didn't want to see Tyson Fury because he is a homophobic POS, and I don't want to see anything with him in it ever again. Brock and Kane, it's like, I made a snack. I went in and poured a bowl of chips and got a water, and I came back in and the match was over. So oh, okay. And then they aired the entire thing on SmackDown, which, if anyone listened to the Fretzlemania podcast this week, cheap plug, the episode Smack Damn. Oh, we'll get into why it's a Smack Damn. Shout out to Wrestle Talk for that rating.
Support Wrestle Talk.
Yes, definitely support Wrestle Talk.
Honestly, yeah, they are. They are. That's right. I was going to mention that.
They're not they're not Chris Jericho level. I mean, they do this for a living. Like Cultaholic also. No, I got to stop talking. I love these shows. Matthew is one of my favorite podcasters ever. He is hilarious. He makes the most insane, obscure references that I get them. Him and Tom Campbell, national treasures. So, where were we? The women's match. Now, this is kind of taking the words out of the Kings of the Ring's mouth. I was just listening to them at work tonight, and they brought up something. They brought up a good point about why Lacey Evans is in there. Well, what's her past? I mean, she is a former something in the Navy. I'm sorry, like a naval reserve. So what do you call a naval not a soldier, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
She was in the Naval Reserve, and Natty is she's a ring general. She's a veteran. I mean, the third generation Canadian heart wrestler for goodness sakes. So if anyone can carry someone like that through a match, it's them. And I really admire how they're trying to bring about change in Saudi Arabia. And it's and who'd have thunk it? A wrestling match. WWE putting two women out there to wrestle is starting, I think, maybe a bit of a culture shift over there, because you saw how all these little girls were reacting. The production crew and the camera, big shout out to Beavertooth guy. What I forgot his name. Kevin Dunn. Big shout out to the Beavertooth guy. he got all the shots of these little girls and these young women who are in the crowd, and they interviewed some of them, and they're like, it's great to be a woman over here now. Things are changing, and and we like to change the game.
That we do. Now, some things are changing for the better. Some. We do have to address, though, the fact that, oh boy. Okay, so
the water bottle.
You know what? I was going to address that, but I think we have more pressing matters than a water bottle being thrown. I mean, that's been stuff that's been going on for years. I do think that it is indeed a sign of disrespect, but like I said, there's a bit of more pressing matter here. So, Crown Jewel has finished up. A lot of the stars are literally trying to get back home. Because of flight issues, I think there was a malfunction, or if there was some kind of deal going on with the planes, they were not able to get home. In fact, so many people had so many layovers that they were not back until, oh boy,
Sunday.
At least Sunday.
Some were Sunday. Bobby Roode didn't get home to Ontario until Sunday. Carl Anderson was home Saturday. But before I should forewarn, there's a lot of rumor and innuendo about this, so we're just going to try and dissect this as gently as possible. I don't know who to believe.
I mean, you're right. So, with everything that was going on, with all these different issues that were happening here, there have been some stars that have indeed spoken out and said that they're not going to be going to Saudi Arabia. Obviously, throughout the years, other people have indeed spoken out. Sami Zayn has mentioned that he's not going to be going back. Daniel Bryan has mentioned the fact he's not going back.
Sami can't go, period.
Oh, he can't go, period.
He's Syrian, and would not take too kindly to him.
Yep, I mean, Aleister Black, he can't go because of all the tattoos that are all over his body. But the recent one that came out was that Buddy Murphy is not planning on coming back to another show. So...
Anderson, too.
Anderson as well, jeez. So, literally, it's going to reach a point where, and this is where it's going to get real good, that by the time they reach the end of their deal, which, crazy enough, they renewed it for another few years. What the frick is going on here?
Actually, they didn't. That was their deal the whole time.
Oh, jeez.
It was that deal. It was a 10-year deal starting in 2017.
Okay.
That's been the deal the whole time. That's just Meltzer trying to stir the pot.
You know something? Even though it's Meltzer stirring the pot, and even though we know Meltzer, he can be that douchebag that destroys everything we hope and love in life. Not salty at all. The whole deal where they are going to be stuck in this contract for about 10 years, all the way until 2027. There's even talk about possibly Vince McMahon not even doing another show. That's another rumor, but it's mainly doing with the fact that they did not get paid until, I believe, the day of the event.
Also another rumor too.
Yeah, there's just
like Seth Rollins is shot all these down. Like I think there was a thing with. We're trying to be impartial here. I just like there's so many different stories out there, but we're just explaining what's out there. I don't know what I don't know what's what, buddy. Like
it's really hard to be impartial considering the fact that, I mean, I'm not trying not to get too political with this, but I mean, when their leader decides that, hey, somebody's treating us horribly, let's go ahead and just kill them. I'm sorry, but that's hard for me to that's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, you kind of have this rep for doing this kind of deal. Good luck trying to get me to believe you. I'm sorry. And for a lot of these people that, don't want to go back, I don't blame them. I mean, if there were a lot of these issues going into, Crown Jewel, if there are all these issues that were them leaving Crown Jewel, they have a rights. They're quote unquote independent contractors. They don't have to do everything that WWE says. It's kind of like this is actually one of my favorite stories. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. If I did, I apologize for reiterating it. But it was a story that Rob Van Dam talked about where he was getting to the point of just getting totally burnt out, and he was looking forward to spending time just resting for the holiday season. And that was also during the time when the Tribute to the Troop show was happening. So what ends up happening is that Johnny Ace, during the time, Mr. John Laurinaitis, basically held a meeting where he said, okay, this whole entire deal is going on, and it's a volunteer deal, but you don't have to go. You're highly recommended to go. So Rob was one of the first ones who said, yeah, no thanks, I'm fine. So Vince basically tries to get Rob Van Dam to join on, and Rob is just basically saying no, I'm not doing this, to the point where Rob was so frustrated with Vince, he almost wanted to fight him. He was that frustrated with him. So it's kind of one of those situations where I am hoping that Vince doesn't do that situation again, where it's just like, I mean, I understand that. Oh no, hold on. Well, I understand that you're having a little bit of an issue here. I mean, we obviously have this a political deal going on, but we don't really believe in politics. Obviously, the old plane thing was an issue, and money is an issue. But trust me, this time around, it's going to be totally different. It's totally fine. Yeah, okay, Vince McMahon. You keep telling yourself that, and we will look forward to seeing Brock Lesnar versus Undertaker for the 80th time.
Oh, please, God, no.
Yeah. So.
Well, Taker's not going anymore. Like, he wasn't. There's a thing about him. Like, yeah, he's just like, yeah, I'm done going there. I'm not going anymore.
I mean, do we blame Saudi Arabia for that, or do we blame Goldberg for that? That's kind of the.
The whole Bill. I think the whole Bill thing. It was an accident. You can just piggyback and be like, okay, then why was this an accident? Why did Bill drop Taker on his head? Was fatigue a factor? Was jet lag a factor? It's just it's just like a layer upon layer of turd. Just it's
good shit,
on
damn
top
it.
of shit. Insert shit on top of shit, pal. Just the whole situation, it's just so murky, so muddy, and, I'm just going to quit politicking while I'm ahead, because I can just go off on, the bad side of that part of the world.
Yeah.
Like, I'm amazed that I'm just amazed that they bring shows there.
No, I totally agree with you. So, before we go into any further, let's take a quick commercial break to kind of get our composure and kind of separate, this from the very interesting week that we had in wrestling. We'll definitely be talking about that when we come back, you guys. So, stay tuned. Your nominee hopefuls are looking forward to talking about what else happened during the week. So, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is King Ricky Rose, your co-general manager of Wrestle Addict Radio and your host of Kings of the Rings podcast. And if you enjoy what you listen to each and every week here on Wrestle Addict Radio, we invite you to enjoy even more content from us on our exclusive Patreon page, where for just $5 a month, that's right, $5 a month, you get bonus content and commentary from each and every show here on Wrestle Addict Radio. That means bonus content from the Kings of the Rings podcast, from Not Your Mama's Soap Opera, from Fourth Wall WrestleCast, from the Get the podcast, and from the Game Changer WrestleCast. So for $5 a month, go to patreon.com/Wrestle Addict Radio, sign up. You get exclusive content, exclusive access to us pretty much 24/7, and exclusive shows that can only be found and are exclusive to Patreon. So again, folks, patreon.com/Wrestle Addict Radio, $5 a month, all the content that you could ever want in wrestling. Enjoy.
Shock the system.
Every single time I hear this theme music, it always brings just a smile to my face, a tear in my eye. Good memories, because that's Undisputed Era, and it also reminds me that this was the music that basically signaled the fact that my good buddy here, Mr. Fretz, came on to be a part of the Game Changer podcast. That was awesome. So welcome back to the Game Changer podcast. You guys are part of Wrestle Addict Radio, the Wrestling Award-nominated Wrestle Addict Radio, I should say. 24 nominations. Guys, check us out at addict_wrestle. Be sure to also check out all the great people of that network. The Gift of Podcast, Not Your Mama Soap Opera Podcast, Fourth Wall WrestleCast, here at the Game Changer Podcast, as well as the Kings of the Rings. All right, Mr. Fretz, let's talk about some invasion. Let's talk about the invasion done right, shall we?
Alrighty then. Do we want to? I don't have it in front of me here, but do we want to start at SmackDown, because this is where the whole thing started?
I mean, we might as well start with SmackDown, because it is going to bleed into Monday Night Raw. SmackDown, because of the fact that, unfortunately, a lot of the stars were still overseas, had to pick up some talent. And honestly, it's one of those situations where it's like, well, this will be interesting to see what they do with, like, all the people that they have. Oh, did we ever get something amazing? We got the stars of NXT to come into the fray. We saw Undisputed Era. We saw Shayna Baszler. We saw Bro
of the show.
Bro of the show, indeed. As well as the one who can bask in the glory, Keith Lee. They invaded SmackDown, and this is all building up to Survivor Series. And trust me, already the card is looking absolutely amazing. They invaded Triple H at the end of the show. No, I do have to mention a couple of these matches. We had Tommaso Ciampa defeating The Miz. I'm totally okay with that. Adam Cole, baby. He defended his NXT Championship successfully against Daniel Bryan, which was honestly one of the better matches on SmackDown. Oh, dear Lord, yes, I would love more, please. We also saw Triple H basically stating that he did that whole deal like he did after WrestleMania 14, where he says, when you need an army, you look to your brothers, you look to your blood. And I honestly thought he was going to say you look to the click, and we were going to get X-Pac coming out to this.
Or Sean T steps.
Oh my gosh.
Takes off his jacket. Oh, it's cold in here.
That would have been amazing.
Good.
But basically, he talks about raising an army and ends it by saying, "We are NXT. People are going crazy. The war has indeed begun. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT at Survivor Series." Oh, and that bleeds right into Monday Night Raw, where we got to see another NXT Championship match between Adam Cole, why not, and Seth Rollins. This one was a bit more disappointing because of the fact that we didn't really get that much of a finish. But it is kind of one of those situations where we are questioning Seth Rollins' motives right now. Because he basically went on Raw and he said, losing the title. And he even made the comment where he's like, "I don't care about what your opinions are," which is kind of a heelish Seth Rollins, but at the same time, it's Seth Rollins at this point shooting his mouth off. I don't care at this point. Triple H came out and he says, "Oh, well, what's next for you, bud? You come to NXT." So we see, Undisputed Era, they come out. It looks like they're going to jump them, but we had some of the mid-carders coming out, and they decide to kind of even the odds there. We get a nice brawl between NXT and Raw stars, which honestly, I'm not gonna lie, you can give crap all you want to the Raw stars all you want, but at least they put up a fight on like SmackDown. I'm just saying, honestly, this was a really good set of episodes. Do I think that it was a better Raw? Well, unfortunately, no, because we still had to deal with the whole that story. You know what? I'm just gonna say that I'm not even gonna address it. Just no. So.
Oh, okay. I was thinking what the hell is he?
Yep.
Never mind. Zip my lip.
All right. So the build-up so far that they have for this is that they are going to have 2 triple threat matches right now. It might turn into 3 because, although there is question about it because of the fact that one of the champions will be defending his title at Survivor Series. But as far as we know right now, we have a triple threat championship match for the tag team titles. The Viking Raiders versus the Revival versus Undisputed Era. Oh, that's beautiful. And one matchup I'm really enjoying is that we got another champions matchup in which we have Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler and Bayley. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness, that Shayna Baszler Becky promo.
It's like I just want that. Just throw Bayley out. If she wins, I will be pissed. If Bayley wins this entire deal, I will indeed be pissed about that.
She won't. No, not a chance, man. I think this is the Invasion pay-per-view of this storyline. The July 2001 pay-per-view Invasion, which was great. This is where the shots are fired. This is where you get Seth Rollins is going to be the Stone Cold. He's defecting. I smell heel, and it's not my dirty feet.
The other matchup that was put on this card was Rey Mysterio versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Honestly, if Rey wins, I might mark out like crazy, but I highly doubt it. I think he's going to get slaughtered by Brock. But I like what they're doing with Rey Mysterio. It is kind of one of those things where I understand where he's coming from. I understand why he's doing these tactics. And it's one of those things where it's like, how can you not relate to what Rey Mysterio is going through right now? He literally witnessed his son get the shit beat out of him. He got the shit beat out of him, and then his quote-unquote good friend, Cain Velasquez, got just almost clobbered at Crown Jewel, and then we got that beautiful moment where Rey Mysterio just decides, I'm going to take the shirt, and I'm just basically going to try and kill you. Didn't happen, but Brock is basically running in fear. Then we see Brock go on a tear on Raw, basically trying to be like, I want Rey. Oh, by the way, he also quit SmackDown, which explains the whole Universal title going to SmackDown and the WWE title going to Raw. I'm going to get a headache if I think too much into it. It's too stupid. It is way too stupid to think about. So basically, Brock is just tearing everybody apart. He even gets one of the announcers and hits with an F5 through the table. We don't get to see that much every day. And then Ray decides to come out and just wreck Brock Lesnar's leg with a lead pipe and challenges him to a match at Survivor Series. So we got Ray versus Brock at Survivor Series for the WWE title, which I'm okay with. Honestly, I'm sure people would have preferred Brock versus The Fiend versus Adam Cole, Bebe, in that final triple threat match. But in all honesty, this is one of those matches that makes more sense. It has a story to it. It has a really good build to it. It is kind of this David and Goliath type of scenario, but at the same time, it's kind of one of those things that I'm really invested in. I like what they're doing with Rey Mysterio. I like the fact they're making Brock look not as strong as and unstoppable as he did before. Do I think Rey's going to win? Probably not. But at the same time, stranger things have happened. But that's just my thoughts on this. So, Mr. Fretz, I yield to you. I know you've been looking forward to talking about this whole deal with NXT finally getting its due.
I'm all for this storyline, man. Poor Dio Madden, and then before that line by Paul Heyman about Jerry Lawler, and it's like, you're going to die on air again, and this time they won't be able to resuscitate you.
Ooh.
Wow. I mean, I know it's like, that is so low. They approve these. Like, Charlotte Flair approved that line about Reed Flair as controversial and as yikes, like 3 weeks after he died. I'm trying to think of what else. I don't know what else happened on Raw, but I might just skip right to NXT. But oh man, the Firefly Funhouse this past week though, that was glorious. Like Bray is like so happy with his custom Universal title with the Fiend mask, side plate, and it's just like, just as long as you don't make him mad, like Seth Rollins did. And then, the whole thing, and then, see you Friday! Like, oh man, he's still Mr. Rogersing it up. And who? I have one theory, but it's completely way off, and maybe not soon enough to build. Gong.
Man.
Imagine Survivor Series. The place where Taker debuted. Spoiler alert, an event you and I are going to be covering in a few weeks. The Fiend goes to Survivor Series. Taker, his 29 years in the business. And the Fiend sacrifices Taker. He seals him up in that big gobbledygooker egg, sends him packing. Although this is a moment, I would say, for WrestleMania. It can be just as huge at the place where Taker made his debut.
No, I do agree with that. I think that it would be more impactful if they did it more at Survivor Series. And I think it would be kind of sentimental if they had Taker end his career at Survivor Series. There's still that part of me that thinks that he's going to at least stick around for one more year so he can hit that 30-year marker. But at the same time, I don't want to see him die. I'm sorry. I don't want to see Taker die. I would much rather have him hit that, hit a 29 marker, go into the Hall of Fame, still able to walk, still able to have like some kind of peace of mind. He's done everything that he can. Right now, he's just looking to make a good paycheck right now. That's really what it is. And people don't believe me. I dare you to fight me on that because I'm telling the truth.
Totally, but that's the one theory I have. I don't know where else they could go with it. Maybe a rematch with Finn Balor, maybe as the Demon. But I think Balor might be a little busy at least on TakeOver. But I'm just jumping right into it. I watched both NXT and AEW last night. Nice. But I imagine we're just going to hot potato this like we usually do. Oh, this is SmackDown. I'm sorry. Yeah, we should mention though that everyone gets involved. Like Bailey, that knee that Bailey ate by Shayna Baszler, ouch. Keith Lee doing a second rope moonsault, and then on Raw a somersault plancha in jeans. Like King Ricky, dude, you can wrestle. Whew. My goodness, Keith Lee is King Ricky's fiend, isn't he?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And King Ricky, I mean, if you're gonna be like going up on TV like this, hook us up with some tickets, bro. So NXT last night, we start off with the OC is in the ring. The OC jumped, a bunch of people backstage. They laid out the Undisputed Era, and Mauro Ranallo just starts recapping it, and then we see the OC head to the ring. And AJ Styles is saying, I'm going to take over NXT. And Tommaso Ciampa cuts this promo, and this was... He's just like, everyone asks me, when am I going to the main roster? When am I going to the main roster? And he's like, this is the main roster. Just crowd goes ballistic. And then we see Keith Lee and Matt Riddle come out, and they challenge the OC to a 6-man tag team match. First match here, a rematch between Damian Priest and Pete Dunne.
Bruiserweight. Shout out to Nikki Skywalker.
Yes. Nikki, I'm actually going to be in the not far from where she lives, but I won't be able to get out to that way because next week I'm going home for a week, taking a week off. So, yeah. Hi. What's up, Nikki? So they just started immediately going for a quick win. That entrance by Damian Priest, just the spectacle of it. You can tell that he's going to be treated like a big deal. Like he's a big dude. He's a Vince McMahon wet dream. This is like a modern day insert big agile guy here of Test or whatever. So we have the Bruiserweight just unloading his technical acumen. He's trying to do the big man, little man stuff. He actually hit Priest with a low blow behind the referee's back. He set up a cross arm breaker and did the whole finger splitting thing, and that would force the big man to tap out. Pete Dunne kept on trying to hit the bitter end, but he couldn't lift him up. And I think he connected with an X-Plex and a really nice sit-down powerbomb. And if this is a feud that keeps going, I'm cool with it. But, after the match, we had Killian Dane come out and lay out Pete Dunne. And then Priest tried to get involved and beat him up too, but then Killian Dane started beating the crap out of Priest. So, triple threat. All right.
Totally cool with that. Totally fine with that. Life is good. All right. So, obviously, with everything they're going on with NXT, they are still trying to battle against AEW. And for me, if somebody else wants to cover AEW, that's cool. But for me, all I needed for AEW this week was the promo that Cody Rhodes had, where he talks about everything that that's been going on with his life. He actually brings up Bill Watts, Dusty Rhodes, and just talks about the legacy that he's basically trying to represent. And he talks about his match at Full Gear, where he makes the stipulation that if he does not win the title, if he does not beat Jericho, he will never challenge for the AEW World title again. And he would go on to actually make some comments about Jericho, talk about how it must be rough, living in the shadows of your father, who is a former hockey player. To which I'm there, was hooked on. I'm like, Oh, they're actually doing it. I remember this. Jericho mentions that in his book. Which one? I'll let you be the judge of that. Learn to read, people.
First one.
I think it might have been his first one, or it might have been the. Which one was it? I think it was the Lionheart one, taming the Lionheart.
I'm actually reading his first one right now, Lion's Tale. Then there's another one I think called Best in the World, and then there's another one like How to something along the lines of How to Succeed or some weird stuff like that. He's got like 4. He's like Mick Foley. He's got like 4 books.
Yeah, he is legit amazing at writing books. You guys definitely read it if you have not gotten a chance to. But basically, he called Jericho a dick, and that kind of closes that out. It's making me more excited for the Rhodes versus Jericho match at AEW Full Gear. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. But before we go into predictions for that, Mr. Fretz, why don't you take it away, giving you the limelight. What happened on NXT that also kind of got everything just really excited for Survivor Series?
Well, I had actually a couple more bits from AEW that I really loved.
Okay.
Pac is becoming my favorite wrestler because he kicked Orange Cassidy right in the face. I have loved every second of it. As you can tell, I am not a fan of Orange Cassidy. I don't get him. I'll come around. I usually come around on people. I will, but Cassidy, of course, did those little light kicks, like, and the crowd just goes, way, way. So Pac just goes, super kick right in the face. Out he goes, like, get in, Pac. And that Chris Jericho video he put together, it had all these interviews of people like this, Aunt Sue something, my Aunt Sue's friend from church, and fucking Virgil. So his name was like Cowboy Jones or something, and he was putting over Chris Jericho with the video, and Sammy Guevara comes up to him with 2 different bottles of those bubbly. It's like, this one's like this one's like this, and I'm like, okay, I'm a craft beer snob, and I appreciated that. And if anyone wants to know, IPAs, the hoppier the happier. But I'm bum-tiss. And then he goes up to Sammy Guevara, just gives him a big old kiss on the cheek, like the young, good-looking fella that he is. And was there? Yeah, I like that. Everyone loved. I like the promo too. A lot of people are treating it like it's way up here, but like it was good. It was fiery. It was amazing. Am I going to say it's overrated? I don't know. I don't want to get my ass kicked. Private Party and the Dark Order had a damn good match leading up to their triple threat coming up at Full Gear. That's it. Wow, I almost forgot what it was. I'm very tired, in case anyone can't tell. And I'm sorry, I'm just twiddling on my cellular device to get back into Here's NXT. Tanyara Conti versus Santana Garrett. Santana Garrett debuting for the company. How about that?
Hey.
Yay. She is from, now I know the name, Nate, is she from Impact?
She did do a couple of matches at Impact, but I don't think she was ever like a full-fledged roster member, if my memory serves me correct.
Okay, so she might have been along the lines of I don't know about Stardom or some of the other. I've heard her name for years and years, so it's really great to see her in the company. But Tanyara got the pinfall here with looked like it was a bicycle kick, so that looked really good. There was a couple of really sketchy, botchy matches. I think they were trying to discuss things on the fly, and it was kind of too obvious. Tanyara, I think she is showing a lot of potential. She can be a little sloppy, but I know that she will improve.
Well, I mean, when you got an actual person that's trying compared to 2 MMA women that are just like, oh yeah, we're going to get involved in this, it's going to be easy. You know, she's going to look like $1 million compared to cow turds.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of them, we had Shayna Baszler versus Dakota Kai.
Okay, thank God. Even better. I'm okay with that.
No, hey, it's okay. No, we had was, of course, leading up to something to do with the Women's War Games matches, and that's where I was going with it. Thank God that Duke and Shafir are not in the War Games match. No offense, but they're greener than goose crap, so they're going to be accompanying Shayna anyways. It's okay. Dakota Kai was trying to get a spot in Rhea Ripley's team.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a thing like, and Dakota Kai was like, I'm going to prove that I belong on this team, and being like the fiery underdog babyface, but Shayna Baszler just taps her out to the Kira Fuda clutch, and then, big brawl, and out comes Mia Yim with a kendo stick and just lays everybody out. Interview backstage, and Ripley's just like, yeah, Mia Yim, you're in. Dakota, like, sorry, you came up short, you're out. And then you can just hear a collective, from the crowd. And she's going to be the final member of Team Heel. She's turning. I smell heel once again. I gotta have a shower. We have a number one contenders match for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship with Tony Nese and Angel Garza.
Wow, this would be
very, very good match. And I'm starting to really dig what Angel Garza brings to the table, because he's still doing that, trying to do funny things with the tearaway pants, stripper pants gimmick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was trying to do something with that, and Tony Nese wasn't having any of it. A whole bunch of really crazy good high spots, and nice. Tony Nese hits his wicked tilt-a-whirl DDT, 450 splash. Garza got his foot on the ropes, and then there was this move called the wing clipper, and I can't really describe it, but he set up Nese for a pedigree, and then kind of dropped him into a jawbreaker.
Okay.
Like a sit-down jawbreaker, like, was it Shane Douglas had a move like that called the Franchiser, but it was garbage.
Well, I mean, I can't really give too much crap to Shane Douglas because I've met the guy. He's pretty cool. And I think if I gave him too much ribs, I think Will might actually come after me instead. And he probably might franchise my ass.
Or belly-to-belly suplex you through a table.
I'd like to see Will try, first of all. Will, that is a challenge. I'd like to see you try. I would probably belly-to-belly you into the bean in Chicago. I dare you, bro. Come at me.
The Will challenge totally flew over me. I thought we were still talking about Shane. This is what happens when we record after work.
Okay, that is fair. Anyway, continuing with NXT.
Dominic Dijakovic versus Isaiah Swerve Scott.
Aw, man. Dijakovic's not battling Keith Lee? Boo! Boo! Gentlemen's boo!
Nah, they've had 6 matches. I think they can go and wrestle other people and play with the other kids.
Okay,
my mom always told me to try to make friends with everybody. Make everybody feel included. That's why I have no fucking friends.
Wait a minute. What does that make me?
You're 15 hours away, bro.
That is fair. Okay, that's fair. I see your point now.
I meant in my town. Anyways, Dominic Dijakovic was just not wanting to treat Isaiah like he was worthy, and just the crap out of him. It was a great back and forth match, lots of great high spots. I think Dominic was still kind of selling that shoulder injury from the Keith Lee matches, when he tried to lift him up for the Feast of Your Eyes, which that move, burning hammer into a knee into the face, just vicious.
Voice.
He made rather short work of Swerve Scott, but Swerve put in great efforts, lots of great transitions. I'm really intrigued to see if Dijakovic is the fourth man for War Games, especially if Velveteen Dream's injury is long term.
Yeah, no. Honestly, it would be an interesting move. And I think it'd be one of those situations where we could see strange bedfellow deals because we know the history between Keith Lee and him. So it would be an interesting idea. I don't see Dijakovic turning on the team. I think it would just be one of those situations where it's like, I kind of looking for a challenge. I want a challenge for the NXT titles, so that kind of might smoothly start to transition him into that title sequence, or maybe even put him as a top tier talent for the North American Championship. Who knows?
I would absolutely, definitely approve of that. So, main event here, we had the OC versus Ciampa, Keith Lee, and Matt Riddle. Bro, my goodness, I think there's a lot of great, crazy Keith Lee high spots, lots of great... excuse me, I'm just reading off of this. A lot of hot tags. The Limitless one Keith Lee himself, he got a little bit too carried away, and when he hit the pounce on Adam Cole, which he flew Adam Cole right into the referee.
Damn.
And then there was nothing but a bunch of plunder, baby. And Finn Balor interrupted, came out to the ring, laid out Riddle with a 1916 on the ramp, and then I think there was I think there was a last shot somewhere in there. Got Adam Cole super kicked the phenomenal one, hit the last shot on Ciampa. But the whole match was just a big, dusty finish, no contest. And when Balor came out, and AJ Styles was standing over, I think it was Ciampa, did the too sweet. Balor, guns.
Ooh.
Do we get a Bullet Club in NXT and a Bullet Club on Raw?
Well, I mean, they already have the original club on Raw, but I would love to see who Finn Balor could recruit to be a part of his team. Because in all honesty, they've done the whole deal with it's like a 6-man tag before. They did the Shield versus the New Day at Survivor Series, and that was a great matchup. Honestly, having that kind of deal and maybe setting up for an AJ Styles versus Finn Balor match maybe further down the line, maybe WrestleMania, you never know. Honestly, I'd be okay with that. I would legitimately love that. But, for the idea that you have, the OC versus maybe the Prince's Kingdom, since they can't use Bullet Club, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. It'd be pretty awesome. All right.
And the irony here is that everyone there, Adam Cole, Balor, and AJ, all Bullet Club. And was Tyler Black? No, Bullet Club was was Tyler Black, Seth Rollins? Was he Bullet Club too? I'm actually going to look into that.
I don't think he was. I do not believe that he was. Because I remember the vast majority of Bullet Club members being more Japan red. No, I'm gonna bet my money on it and say no, he was not. I think that he was definitely high in Ring of Honor deal, but that's about it. But
okay, former Adam Cole, Bone Soldier, Brandy Rhodes, Cody Hall. Huh. Well, that's right. Jeff Jarrett was not in Bullet Club. Come on.
That doesn't count. Nobody's going to count that.
Part-time members, King Haku, of course, because do what Haku says or he'll rip out the bottom of your jaw. Okay, I was mistaken. It was the Adam Cole, AJ Styles, and Finn Balor. And oh man, if only they had something like Kenny Omega there, or even Marty Scurll, because Marty Scurll was the one that replaced Adam Cole after he got fired from the Bullet Club.
That's right. I do remember that. Marty Scurll, awesome. Doo-doo. Alright. So, enough talk about that. Mr. Fretz, are you ready to talk about some tweets?
Oh, Pro Talk Wrestling. And I almost friggin' forgot again. My goodness.
Well, I think that in order for us to do this, we have to give it justice. Ladies and gentlemen, this are your Pro Talk Wrestling Tweets of the Week.
10.
Wait, whoa, no.
Were you really going to do that?
Maybe. This is not like a tip deal.
I fucking love you, man.
This is not a shoot. This is not a work. But we're not going down that path. If we're doing this, we're doing it this the right way. DJ, hit the new music for the PTW's Tweets of the Weeks.
Velveteen Dream. Hit it.
All right, there you go. It is a dream to be a wrestling fan. And guys, these are your PTW, your Pro Talk Wrestling Tweets of the Week, voted by us and also tagged by you. First one comes from Year of the Violet, where they ask, can the Lana Rusev and Lashley storyline be over already? We wish. We really wish it was. So definitely Year of Violet, definitely check that out. Next one comes from Ryan Satin, who is official because he's got the nice little check mark by it. The first NXT champion, Seth Rollins, is challenging the current NXT champion, Adam Cole, for the Raw title on hashtag Raw tonight. And there's a nice little gif of Doc Brown saying, "Great Scott." You speak for everybody, Mr. Ryan. You speak for everybody. This one comes from my arch nemesis at _MJF, who just states, "I'm a good person." Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on that.
Hey, where's your Tempur-Pedic shoes?
You want shut up, okay? Shut up. Next one comes from @HeelBuddy. LMAO, how NXT going to get run off by the Raw mid-card, hashtag Raw. Oh my gosh. But hey, just think of it this way, Braden. They at least responded better than SmackDown did, so give them a little bit of credit. Alright, next one comes from @Missa Saskage, I believe that is. NXT ran from nobodies and Eric Rowan. Shayna could have laid out Truth, Zach, and Kurt by herself, bro. Oh, man. I love this girl. She's amazing. Next one comes from Gamers Goon YT. Papa H is better than Vince. Hashtag Raw. Oh, my gosh. That's beautiful. Okay, here we go. Next one comes from Jesse the Buckeye, who has been one of the greatest things to happen in all of Twitter. If you have not seen her videos, they are absolutely amazing. Who has the caption, "Don't touch her like that, Charlotte. Grabbing her like that is a personal violation." And there's a video of her literally just saying, "Charlotte, let go of that pussy," and literally just dropping dead at her own joke. Oh my gosh, that's just beautiful. A good friend of the show, at K Fabulous, says, "Yep, you know what I'm talking about. That's a shout out to you, Amanda." As I said, this Ray attacked him, and now he'll be even more mad, which is great. To which she has a video which she's stating, "Hey, I would love to just see 3 hours of Brock Lesnar just beating the shit out of everybody." I had to throw one in here. One of my favorites was actually from me at RealFNGame. Brock 2, car door 0.
Fatality. Oh, I thought you were talking about someone else for a second. I got a congratulations, Kayla Moonshoes.
Really? Oh, that's right. That's right.
A baby. She had a baby.
Yep. We definitely do have to make that. Happy days. And she is adorable. Nora J is just one of the most beautiful things that you will ever see. It is just great. At Reborn Again says, Riddle and Triple H teaming up, the Cerebro Assassins.
Shout out, that's you, John Ritland. His YouTube video, seriously, this guy, he's funny.
Oh my gosh, it's just great. We still got a couple more that we have to do, so at Sid Bridge Comedy. So I guess Seth Rollins knows what to do next now. Real estate. I mean, to be fair, Why not? Why not at this point?
And if you know what that's from, you guys get a can of Coke.
Yes.
To be fair.
To be fair. This next one comes from @the legendary JF. I want one thing on Raw. Walter chopping Brock's lame-ass sword tattoo right off his chest and slicing him with it. Too far? No, Mr. Fretz, that was not too far.
Not far enough. Not far enough to get me kicked off of Twitter for a day.
Oh, man. Oh, that's going to be something we'll have to talk about in the commercial break. And, guys, I had to vote this for my, picture of the day. It's literally a sign where it has a plane, and it says, AEW leaves no one behind. Ooh. Oh,
Insert
boy.
Lost theme here.
Oh, man. Nope, I agree with that. Oh, boy. So, guys, that has been the Pro Talk Tweets of the Week, as well as Picture of the Week. If you guys want to be a part of it, be sure to use the hashtag ProTalkWrestling to be a part of next week's show. And, guys, it's only going to get bigger and better from here. So we're going to take a little quick commercial break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about Twitter hating us, as well as talk a little bit about AEW and a full circle moment. So stay tuned, guys. We will be right back. Hi, I'm NateFNGreat. You know what's really fun, you guys, is just spending some time creating wrestling moments, whether it's being in the crowd, cutting promos, or just really kind of beating each other up with a chair or a trash can. Well, let's just say that there's a safer way to doing that without using the actual chair or a trash can. Go over to Great Minds Revolution Incorporated. My buddy Kurt has actually created a very safe and fun way to be a wrestling fan without the necessary lawsuits of basically beating each other up with real stuff. He has an inflatable chair that is really fun to just whack around, and it could also double as a little floaty for a pool. He also has the inflatable trash can, which, you guys, is really awesome because let's say maybe you don't want to use it for wrestling matches. You could use it at your barbecue, your next big tailgate party, whatever you could think of. Great Minds Revolution, Inc. They do a great job on making wrestling fun again. Proud friends of the Game Changer podcast. Just like NXT decided to send a war to WWE, we're sending a war to all Twitter. Welcome back to the Game Changer podcast. I am NateFNGreat, joined here by Mr. Fretz. We are the true War Raiders of Twitter. Honest to God, guys, I don't know what happened, why people are getting so stickler and so freaking hypersensitive. It's annoying. I mean, I don't even know what even happened. You get in trouble for using one W word, and apparently I got in trouble for using another W word. Allegedly, at this point. And who knows at this point. So, Twitter, stop being so sensitive. And people who read our tweets, stop being hypersensitive. It's not cool. It really isn't cool. Alright, so let's go into the quick predictions for AEW Full Gear, which will be taking place on Saturday. But honestly, we'll just cheer the fact that, hey, it was a great matchup. Hooray! This is going to be awesome. We start off with a pre-show matchup, which is Bea Priestley versus Britt Baker. Ooh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. I'm looking forward to this matchup. I think Britt's going to take the win here.
Bea Priestley's on a roll. I think that she's going to get the W for this one and get a little bit more momentum before getting a title shot eventually.
I could see that too. That's why we are awesome people that deserve to be Duo of the Year. Just saying. Up next, we have the AEW Women's World Championship. I love that they're calling it that. It's awesome. Rio taking on Emi Sakura. Mr. Fretz, who have you got for this matchup?
Rio just won it. There is going to be a title change here I'm going to get into in a moment here, but I think Rio is going to win this one and hold on to the title just for just a little bit longer.
You know what? I could see that too. So I'm in full agreement with you. Rio for the win. Up next, we have the three-way tag team matchup for the AEW World Tag Team titles. SoCal Uncensored versus Lucha Bros versus Private Party. Honestly, guys, I do not see SoCal Uncensored losing. They've just won the titles, and as much as I would love to see the Lucha Bros win it, I think that SoCal Uncensored is going to be, winning for quite a while, at least until they face off against another tag team, which we will talk about very shortly. Mr. Fretz, who have you got and why?
Cero Mero.
Wow.
Short run. I think not LAX, bloody hell, Lucha Bros. I think they have a couple other appearances in other promotions, and I think what good exposure, what good advertising you can swing by having the AEW tag team titles in your possession. And this is a feud I think they will continue. Maybe they can hot potato it back and forth like the Edge and Christian and then the Hardys and the Dudleys did back in the day. Even that one time where they changed hands like twice on Raw, which was awesome. I think, I have there's something in the back of my mind when Lucha Bros was leaving my mouth that Christopher Daniels returns.
Ooh,
and turns heel on SCU.
Ooh, that would be interesting. And honestly, I think that's the best way to put it. That'd be interesting. Up next,
Fallen Angel.
Up next, we have Joey Janela taking on Sean Spears with Tully Blanchard in his corner. Mr. Fretz, you're doing it.
I'm doing the 10. Sean Spears, Joey Janela. Like, this is kind of stealing the words from Puppet Jack. I was just watching Cultaholic while I was eating my dinner here. Janela's one of those guys that a loss can't hurt, because he's an act, he's a spectacle. Like, the guy's a friggin' high spot machine, and I think Dillinger needs a little bit of force of habit. He was in the WWE for like 12 years. I think that Spears is someone I think who needs a little bit of momentum. Like, he did get a win on Dark, and I think he wrestled on Dynamite too. But what I really appreciated on Dark is that he used a version of Tully Blanchard's slingshot suplex.
Ooh, nice.
But he turned it into kind of like a jackhammer brainbuster type move, and it looked really sick. Last night he finished off someone with it wasn't a tiebreaker and it wasn't the slingshot suplex. It was a totally different move, and I already forget what it is.
All right. Yeah, we're both in agreement. Sean Spears. I do agree with you that he needs the victory more than Joey Janela. Honestly, Joey Janela is at this point where he could be the biggest loser, and he would be totally fine. Like you say, he's an act, but he's also one of those things that people still get behind him no matter what. Up next, we have Adam Page versus Pact. Oh, this is going to be good. We already saw these guys go 1-on-1 against each other. Adam Page picked up the victory on Dynamite. Now, question is, on the bigger stage, do we see Adam Page choke? Honestly, I think he might. I think that Pac is going to pick up the victory here, and it's going to continue the feud between the two of them. Possibly, maybe it's going to involve like a ladder match. Maybe they'll introduce a cage. Who knows at this point? But I think Pac's going to pick up the victory here.
Same here. I'm picking the bastard.
Picking the bastard? How dare you? I thought you were a Christian.
You bastard!
Ladies and gentlemen, this next matchup is the Young Bucks taking on Santana and Ortiz. We still call them LAX because they are awesome. Mr. Fretz, who have you got and why?
LAX.
We're both in agreement there because honestly, I think it makes more sense to have the two of them face off against against Lucha Bros, but at the same time, they probably could face off against SoCal Uncensored. Young Bucks, they'll get a victory later on down the road, but right now, I don't see it. Up next, we have a non-sanctioned lights out matchup between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. Oh my dear sainted mother, this is going to be good, and this is going to be brutal. I think Moxley's got the victory here. As much as I think they're going to start doing the Kenny Omega redemption story starting January. I don't think that they're going to start it here. So I think they definitely do need to let Moxley continue this role that he's got right now. He's been doing really good in the ring. This hardcore deal is up his alley. I think it's just going to be too much for the Omega.
Moxley is totally winning this one. They've been pushing him really hard and pushing him as a top guy. I have a theory that this match is going to close the show because this is like lights out. This is unsanctioned. But if this actually means lights are out and we're going like Bray Wyatt, Kane, or Sin Cara here, which please leave the lights on. And this whole thing is not counting towards the win-loss record. It's a big feud. I think Mox is going over, but I'm not sure I'm in agreement with the whole this close to the show. I think the title should, just because of how I think the title match is going to end.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Speaking of the title matchup, the AEW World Championship matchup, Chris Jericho, the El Champion, taking on Cody. And if Cody loses, he will never challenge for the AEW World title again. I'm going with Cody. I think that he is going to pick up the victory here. It's one of those things where I don't think it's going to hurt. It's not going to hurt Jericho. Jericho is bulletproof at this point. And plus, I think I'd much rather see a redemption storyline between Cody and Kenny than Kenny and Jericho, because we've kind of seen Kenny and Jericho already. So honestly, maybe they could do like a quick deal where, Cody gets his moment and Jericho wins the title later, like immediately after, something like that. But that's just my opinion on it. Mr. Fretz, who have you got for this matchup?
El Champion.
Ooh.
I am picking Jericho. And, okay, that stipulation in wrestling has never stuck. And it never will. There's going to be like some kind of loophole, there's going to be some kind of screw job, or I think either someone like MJF or, God forbid, Dustin, or somebody is turning heel. And there's this whole spiel about 60-minute time limit, and if there's no fall, they're going to like boxing UFC this with a few ringside judges. Now, who are these going to be? I have one. I think Dustin, MJF will be two of them. Who would another one be? Who do you think like one of these judges could be? Think they can pull like another legend out of their ass, or just someone there unexpected who would be like holding up the one thing? It's like, okay, one judge holds up the sign that says Jericho, next one that says Cody, and then you get the guy that's, you're obviously going to hold up this one, and then he does the Batista thumbs up, thumbs down spot. But this is not going 60 minutes. Please, God, don't let it go 60 minutes. No offense, like Jericho and Cody, they could go, but I don't know if I want to see them go for a full hour.
You never know. You never really know. So those are the predictions we have. If we got them right, hooray! If we didn't, bollocks. But now, guys, we definitely do need to continue on, because we're going to be talking about Survivor Series, one of the most historic events in WWE's history. And honestly, this was an event that I think is still is one of the best Survivor Series in recent memory. It is the Survivor Series in 2003. So this took place on November 16, 2003 in Dallas, Texas at the American Airlines Center. Attendance of 13,487 and a tagline of a fall from grace, which has the poster of Shane McMahon doing his classic elbow. Oh, trust me, we're going to be talking about him. He ain't the best in the world, but he probably damn sure was almost dead after this event. But before we get into that, it's time to go back in the Wayback Machine with Mr. Fretz.
I think we gotta do like a sound effect for this one. Get like some 8-bits, or get the whole Back to the Future, or even better, Wayne's World. There we go. There's a soundbite for that for the next one.
All right.
So
consider it done.
Okay. Forewarning. I'm going to be brief with a little bit of real talk here.
Okay.
Now, you and I covered WrestleMania 20, and I talked about some kind of depressive episode that I was in at this point in my life.
Okay.
Yeah. If anyone, go listen to the archives and listen to that. I won't get too much into it here, but I was 19. I was out of high school. I was aimless, jobless. So I've never been diagnosed, but I'll self-diagnose and say that I was depressed. I wasn't quite at the level of suicidal thoughts, but they definitely crossed my mind at this point. And I'm not going to dwell on it. And I just want to say that I'm glad that the soundtrack to this pay-per-view was not on the network. Build the Bridge by Limp Bizkit, because it'll bring back some bad memories. I was drinking heavily, I was partying a lot, and I was just, I don't know what the frig I was doing. But that was a catalyst for later down the line having a good relationship with a friend of mine at church, and becoming a Christian at that point in time. So I won't dwell on that. That was just where I was in my life. I was not in a good place, but all is well now. Thank you very much. Movies in theaters. Here is a smorgasbord. Cat in the Hat. Mike Myers.
Oh shit, that's right. Oh,
Brother
no.
Bear. Matrix Revolution. Looney Tunes Back into Action.
Okay, I was okay with that movie.
And one of my favorite Christmas movies ever, Bad Santa.
Okay, so it wasn't an entire wreck. Just the first half.
Yeah. In video games.
Oh, please give me something good. Damn it.
Oh, buddy, remember the last couple of pay-per-views we've been talking about? Full friggin' circle. Down your drink. Grand Theft Auto 3.
Woo! I'm okay with this. I'm totally okay with this.
We talked about 1. We talked about 2. Frank, we talked about San Andreas, I think, in one show.
Yes, we did. I do remember that.
My goodness. One of my favorite GameCube games ever, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga for the Game Boy Advance, which showed the debut of a underrated villain called Fawful. And Cacaletta, I think. It's like the game where Mario and Luigi RPG, they cooperate, and it's a fun game, but it's hard as crap. Speaking of Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube.
Oh, I remember that.
Okay, I have a couple here, but are you a fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd?
I've watched a couple of his videos, so I am very much familiar with his stuff, and I like what I see. I really do.
Okay, he's like my favorite YouTuber, one of them. So we had 2 games which were featured on his channel. Big Rigs Racing for the PC, one of the worst, most unfinished pieces of shit ever made. Just look up Big Rigs for the PC, you won't be disappointed. Final Fantasy X2, and another AVGN episode, Drake of the 99 Dragons for the Xbox. It was just this really bad, weird, like Ninja Gaiden ripoff. Oh boy, songs. Yeah, this is gonna bring some darkness back, but I'll try and tiptoe around it. Here Without You by Three Doors Down. Shake Your Tail Feather by Nelly.
Oh, shit,
and one of the most annoyingly catchy, overplayed songs of all time. Hey, yo! By Outkast.
Oh, God.
I hate the song, but every time it comes on the radio at work, it's a head bopper. I mean, I hate it, but it's a head bopper. It helps keep me sane sometimes. But that was one hell of a trip. But when we get to some other shows that you and I are doing later this month, I mean, we're going back to the, spoiler alert, we're going to the 80s. Oh, and Mr. Fretz was born in the 80s, so...
It makes sense. Again, full frickin' circle. Take a shot and take a drink. One matchup here that we are not going to talk too much about, but feels like it's really good to kind of talk about because it is kind of an interesting full circle moment. In the pre-show, Sunday Night Heat, they had Tajiri defending his Cruiserweight Championship against Jamie Noble. Now, for those of you that might remember, Tajiri and Jamie Noble actually fought against each other a year prior when Jamie Noble was the Cruiserweight Champion. Now the roles are completely reversed. Jamie Noble is kind of the face here, Tajiri is the heel, and this is when he kind of had like this triad deal. He had Akio and Sakota in his corner, so he literally has just a couple of these guys helping him out. Tajiri would wind up retaining the Cruiserweight Championship, but I will say this, it's one of the few times I've actually remembered seeing somebody block the Green Mist and almost beat Tajiri. So, honestly, for a match that I'm looking at right now, it was like 4 minutes and 13 seconds, it was still pretty exciting. So, I really liked it. But yeah, like I said, Tajiri retained against Jamie Noble. One other thing that we should probably mention, and this is going to be a major shout out to the Ruthless Aggression podcast for bringing this up. We got to witness something even more insane earlier this year. I don't even know. Did we even cover Backlash 2003?
No, but I don't know if we referenced this in the episode or you and I were talking off air. No, we definitely referenced it.
I think it was an off air.
Is it rare?
Yes. So I definitely will be giving these guys so much props for this because this is one of my favorite deals, and these guys are awesome. They got nominated also for Trio of the Year, so definitely vote for them if you like them. They referenced the fact that during this cat fight deal between Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler, where Tori Wilson is accused of kissing Tess's boyfriend, but obviously it was a sexual assault because why not go down that dark path? Oh God. Stacy Keibler is attacking Tori. They mentioned the fact that there's Tyree in the background wearing nothing but a towel, and she's holding a cat. Tori Wilson falls on the ground, and next thing you know, as Stacy's trying to go after her, we just see King Ivory throw the cat on Tori Wilson. Oh my God. And if you guys haven't gotten a chance to, just check out that video where one of them just literally just busts a gut laughing and just asks the question, why? Why would you do that? And I asked the same question. Why would you throw a cat? What did that cat ever do to you? I wonder if that's Grumpy Cat, which would resurface years later. I mean, I would be a grumpy cat if I was throwing on a woman for no reason other than, yeah. But let's talk about Survivor Series, shall we?
Well, Nate.
Yes, sir.
I had a cat when I was a kid, and I got to name this cat. He was a black cat, and I named him Sid after Psycho Sid because his tights were black.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Sid from Toy Story.
Or Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols.
Oh.
So I tried to teach this cat to do the Sid Vicious fist bump. Scratch. And there are two, and for Ruthless Aggression Pod, there are two. There is one that's out of the UK with David Burnham and Big Sexy. I forget his actual name. I'm sorry, lads. I've been putting you guys over for a long time now. Then there's the American one with Kyle and Levi. And Kyle is the one that he often breaks out into weird sound effects, and Ruthless Aggression, something on, and just, they're good. But you get the guys from England. It's like, here we are. Like their review of this. It's done. That's fucking Sparky Plug in the main event. Get in there.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. So yeah, definitely a major shout out. So guys over at the Ruthless Aggression Podcast, congratulations on your nomination. You really deserved it. Alright, so let's talk about Survivor Series. We kicked off with a classic Survivor Series elimination matchup. Team Angle, which had Bradshaw, Chris Benoit, Hardcore Holly, John Cena, and Kurt Angle taking on Team Lesnar, which featured A-Train, Big Show, Brock Lesnar, Nathan Jones, and Matt Morgan. And for those of you that don't know the name of Nathan Jones, all you have to do is just rediscover his career. What's that? He didn't have much of a career? My point exactly. Oh my senior mother. And for those of you that may have heard the name of Matt Morgan, yeah, he became a big star in TNA. What did he do in WWE? He became Morgan. It's like
this was pre-stutter.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when they had the whole deal with Goldust, at least they had an excuse for that, where he got electrocuted. With Matt Morgan, it was just like, oh, we're making fun of people who actually have this disease. I hate you. I hate everything. Where's Max? Max, I need you to torch somebody, please. No. Where's Rachel? She's the torture.
Oh, yes. No, Slack is a bit of a arsonist himself. Slack.
F your Slack.
I know we like to say fuck Slack, but hey, neat buddy. Oh, and while you're at it, can you bring me back a large dark roast from Timmy's, please? Maybe 20 tidbits.
All right, so just going to quickly go through the eliminations here. This is kind of a very short matchup. I mean, it goes for 13 minutes and 15 seconds, but it just felt kind of short. Hardcore Holly actually got eliminated by DQ because he assaulted Brock Lesnar before the match even began. Backstory for this, if you remember one of our recent podcast episodes, we mentioned the fact that Brock Lesnar broke Hardcore Holly's neck with a botched powerbomb. Now, fast forward 1 year later, Hardcore Holly wants Brock Lesnar's ass. So this is the reason why he's doing that. It took a year off of his career. Brock Lesnar wants to get revenge on him. Beats down Brock Lesnar, shoves a referee, gets disqualified. Hardcore's gone. Then we would have Bradshaw pin A-Train with a clothesline from hell, which, honest to God, it's really interesting seeing Bradshaw not looking like a multimillionaire douchebag, but it fit him. Then we had Bradshaw eliminated by the Big Show with a choke slam. We get a little bit of a deal where Cena tries to go for the FU beforehand, because it would be later called AA for PG reasons. F everything. We would see a lot of back and forth deal. When Kurt Angle gets involved, everything goes just crazy. We see suplex, bye, we. Kurt Angle would hit the Angle Slam on Matt Morgan, eliminating him. He would then lock in the ankle lock on Nathan Jones to eliminate him. These were really fast. And as soon as Angle eliminated Nathan Jones, and Cole makes this lineup if he could do this, then Kurt Angle's team takes control. Brock Lesnar comes in. F5. 1, 2, 3. Angle's eliminated. So it's down to Brock Lesnar, Big Show, taking on Chris Benoit and John Cena. Chris Benoit, who we obviously will never, say deserves to go in the Hall of Fame, but during this time, he was a big deal. And honestly, why he was never a headliner for a WWE Championship match, beyond me. It was beyond me why that was never a thing. But this was where it really started getting interesting. So Benoit takes out Brock Lesnar's shoulder with a nice throw to the steel post, locks in the crippler crossface at least 2 times, forces Brock Lesnar to submit, and keep that in mind because there is a reason that this happened. And it's going to create probably one of the most interesting backstage promos ever. Big Show comes in, he's the final survivor, tries to beat down on Benoit as well as John Cena. He chokeslams Benoit, who turns out to be the illegal man. Referee's distracted, Cena hits him in the face with a chain. FU to Big Show, 1, 2, 3. Team Angle picks up the victory. Kind of felt like it was a bit of a, very fast-paced matchup, but in all honesty, it served its purpose. I thought it was a pretty good opener. I don't know, what'd you think, Mr. Fretz?
It was fun. I liked it. I've listened to a lot of Pritchard, so I think there was a bit of rumor and innuendo about Hardcore Holly maybe not actually being cleared at Survivor Series 03, or maybe this was just to pop the crowd or not pop the crowd to get to this match, which would they had a title match. Thurman Sparky Plug himself in the WWE title picture. What a time. I wrote some things down here, like John Cena. Oh, I love the basic thugonomics. I love that gimmick. I'm not a rap guy, but I dug the rapper's gimmick, and he's just I'm a giant whistle, go ahead and blow me. We had the crowd. When Bob Holly came out, this was his return match.
That's right.
The crowd could not give a toss. No pop. It was the Ascension pop. Are they still employed? By the way, my goodness.
I think somehow they still are, but they're probably just there. Anyway.
JBL with the clothesline from hell. Still got a great clothesline. I've said before that I thought the JBL gimmick transition from Texan to billionaire was crap. He should have called the clothesline from hell something like the stock market crash when he transitioned.
That'd been good.
But I do believe that IRS called his Samoan drop finisher or something like that as well. So Matt Morgan was as green as goose crap here. Nathan Jones was terrible. If you don't believe me, look into the very short-lived, horrifying wrestling company known as the WWA. It was kind of a precursor to TNA in a way, because I think Jeff Jarrett was involved in it. They ran a few shows in Australia. Nathan Jones main evented that against Jeff Jarrett.
Bad times.
Now, there is a reason why he was not at WrestleMania 19. He was not ready. He is an actor. He's had a pretty good career acting. I couldn't tell you what he was in. I was thinking it was 300, but that was the man who was once known as Kurgan was in that movie.
Interesting.
I think he might have been the guy that Leonidas kicked down the pit.
Oh, yeah.
I think, or he might have been one of the giants. I'll have to look into that. I have not seen that movie all the way through. I've seen bits and pieces on TV. I've been meaning to get into it, but Brock tapping out for the crossface, I thought was a huge moment. A huge win for Benoit. FU to the chain, with the chain is the same finish as WrestleMania 20, when John Cena won the U.S. title.
That's right. So a little bit of forecasting that we would see at WrestleMania 20. I actually forgot about that. All right. So we go into a backstage deal where Vince McMahon talks to Shane about how he feels good about the fact that, they're taking on Brothers of Destruction. And, oh my God, do you remember that higher power crap that we always love talking about? Yeah, he's back on that high horse.
I was totally going to say that thing. I'm going to be protected by a higher power. So you're going to be protected by yourself. Are you fucking insane, Vince?
Yes, he is. And it kind of ends with Shane McMahon saying that, the only thing I feel is sorry for you, basically stating that, he's probably going to defeat Kane and Vince is going to get killed, which, trust me, we're going to talk about that matchup in quite a bit. But then we get a nice backstage deal with Stone Cold and Vince McMahon where they just both kind of laugh with each other, kind of chuckle. I did like how they were basically saying, well, maybe Stone Cold's laughing because he knows that it's going to be Vince McMahon's last day, and maybe Vince is laughing because he thinks it's Stone Cold's last day. I always loved this. That Stone Cold Steve Austin always does the whole deal where he can laugh, and then just in a flick of a switch, he can just stop laughing. It's so funny, and it's so awesome. It's kind of one of those things where it's that's not really a talent. Bullshit, that's a talent. Only people that can actually have, stones of steel can do that. That is Stone Cold Steve Austin at his finest. But that was kind of an interesting segment. Next up, we have a women's title matchup. Molly Holly defending against Lita. Oh, dear Lord, did I forget about that hot entrance, that hot Titantron that Lita used to have. And hey, remember when we talked about Hardcore Holly and his neck problems? What do you know? They talk a lot about the fact that Lita had neck problems during this matchup because she had a neck problem during, I think it was
Angel.
Yeah, Dark Angel, thank you. There's a reason why that show's not on anymore. I don't blame Lita, I just blame probably the poor writing that they had. This was honestly a pretty good matchup. Lita hits a suplex kind of toss and then a kip up. I give that 2 thumbs up. I thought that was great. Molly Holly with a dragon sleeper. That was interesting. And that's where they kind of talked about the neck problems, which, honesty, dragon sleeper, broken neck, that's a little bit cringeworthy for me. I always love when Molly Holly does that cartwheel flip into the elbow into the corner. that was always cool. She definitely is one of those women that is so vastly underrated and probably deserves so many more women's title matches and women's title reigns. But this reign that she had right here was just great. Lita would hit a crossbody for a close win. Molly Holly would get Lita in a corner, and she would just go punching, doing like the 10 count punch in the corner. And this actually was probably my favorite part of the entire matchup, was Molly Holly just trash talking, making the comment, "You don't mess with me!" And then she gets a power bomb for her troubles. Oh my gosh. That was just like instant karma, and I loved it. It was one of those moments where it's like, Molly Holly, we don't deserve you. Just thank you for being amazing. Lita would go for a moonsault, but unfortunately missed. Molly would hit the Molly go round for a close 3 count, giant question mark. In all honesty, had they finished the match here, I would have been okay with that. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, miss moonsault, Molly go round, boom, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's fine. I think they called an audible with this because Molly decided to expose the second turnbuckle steel. Lita gets tossed into that. Then they do a cover 1, 2, 3. And that's the end of the matchup. Like I said, I loved this match probably until the finish because I think that finish was either Lita did not get her shoulder up soon enough, or the referee just did not count that 3 count. Either way, I just think that Molly probably could have just taken the victory with the Molly go round right there. Minus the finish, I liked this matchup. I thought it was great, and it reminded me of how much of great chemistry that Molly Holly and Lita had with each other.
I loved Molly Holly. I had a giant crush on her at this point in time. I don't know what it was. It might have been her bum. And I think her gimmick was this gimmick here that she was having, and that whole modesty thing, like throughout 2002, and she's wearing granny panties, JR. That was tailor made for Right to Censor. I think she could have, if she came in any earlier and didn't have, the bleach blonde hair as she did when she was Nora in WCW, she could have been great for the Right to Censor. That gimmick just reminds me of that. I love Lita. When she was coming off her neck thing, her moonsault here was pretty bad. It was almost like she almost killed herself and killed whoever she was doing it to. It was yikes. But I agree that Molly go round could have ended the match here. I don't know if the turnbuckle was a blade job spot, but yeah, they had a good match. They always had great chemistry. Molly could put on a good match with a broom. Lita was somewhat limited mobility-wise because of her neck problems, but she could usually compensate for it.
No, definitely do agree.
This match was not that.
It wasn't bad, but I think the finish could have been better. We go into the next matchup, which is the ambulance matchup, pitting Shane McMahon versus Kane. Oh, boy, do I have a lot to say about this matchup. Honestly, the hype video that took on beforehand was really good. I really liked it. I think it was one of the best hype videos that they had. Also, Black Towel Kane is amazing. That was just great. Shane McMahon would come out. He would go on early on the attack on Kane. He would do like that Cactus Jack clothesline. When Kane left the ring, it looked like he landed on his head on the outside, which was a bit of a nasty spot. Kane would go for some steel steps and try to bash Shane McMahon, but Shane McMahon had a steel chair. Boom! Steel steps go right into Kane's face, and then he's pinned under it, and Shane's just going boom, boom, boom with the steel chair. Gets Kane onto the announce table, hits the Shane McMahon elbow early on, and he's going into the crowd. Kane does like his whole sit-up deal. Kane's chasing after Shane. During this kind of deal, the feed kind of dies, and I think that there's like a miscommunication or something with the camera crew, because there's just a lot of like dead to it. So this was probably the biggest issue you could have with the matchup. I think that was my issue with it, was that there was that just dead silence for about maybe 30 seconds of them being like, oh, well, where's Shane and Kane? Where's Shane and Kane? Let's go here. Oh, they're not here. Let's go here. Nope, they're not here. Let's go here. Oh, they're not here. Oh, no, they're right here. They're right here. They're right here. So Shane McMahon gets Kane into the parking lot. And Kane is looking around, figuring like, where the hell is Shane? Where is he? Oh my God. Shane McMahon literally taking a kendo stick and just brutalizing Kane. I mean, you could feel these kendo shots on Kane. I forgot how brutal they were. They just, oh God, that was just crazy. Then Shane McMahon takes an SUV, backs up into Kane, who hits a security box, goes through that. Shane McMahon calls for an extra ambulance to get involved, and he tries to get Kane on the stretcher. Kane, just as he's about to go to the ambulance, grabs Shane McMahon, and he decides, you know what? Not happening, buddy. Throws him into the wall multiple times. Each one of them is somehow more brutal than the last. They're fighting into the entryway. They go to where the other ambulance is. Shane McMahon's able to find a way to get an advantage. We see Kane's head getting smashed by the door. First time, okay, that was fine. Second time he gets the door smashed into his face. Oh dear boy, that was just brutal. I was literally thinking to myself, oh, he's going to have a concussion. That's going to suck. There's a spot where Shane McMahon kind of does like walks on the back of the ambulance to kind of like use the momentum to kind of roll out. And then he hits a float over DDT. That was great. One thing I will admit was a smart idea was that Shane McMahon got like the trash can. He also had like this padding wedged between Kane's crotch. He does the coast to coast from the top of the ladder onto Kane. So I thought to myself, okay, that's actually a smart use of padding. That's cool. I like it. Shane thinks that he's going to get Kane into the ambulance. Closes one door. Kane grabs him, pulls him into the ambulance. Kane uses the ambulance to just destroy Shane. Even one point doing the Kevin Nash Rey Mysterio thing from WCW, where he just human javels him into it. After that happens, we get a lot of like Shane O'Mac chants. So people were really getting into this. And then they realized the end was near because Tombstone by Kane throws him into the ambulance, closes it up. That's it. Kane picks up the victory. I described this as a brutally brilliant matchup. This was probably the best way that they could have ended this feud. JR does make this comment after the after like a little later on during the show where he says, "Oh, Shane McMahon had to go get a CAT scan because of the head trauma that was brought onto him from the Tombstone pile driver, among other things." I thought that was a great line. I thought that was awesome. I have a comment where the ambulance has trouble trying to get out of there. It's kind of going like back and forth, just trying to get out of there. It's a little awkward, but it's one of those things where it's like, I understand. It's one of those things where Kane could just kind of enjoy what he's doing. He's just like, yeah, I did that. It's cool. I did make also a note that they should have used Kane better after this one, because what had happened at Armageddon? Oh, he was involved in a triple threat match for the world title. Oh, did he win? Nope. Because someone else needed the title. We're going to use Kane to choke slam the Goldberg. And then he's going to get pulled out of the ring. And he's going to look strong. It was stupid. It was a stupid deal. We'll talk more about the world title matchup in just a bit. And honestly, to kind of close it out before we go to Mr. Fretz, I love this version of Kane's song. The Slow Chemical is just, it's awesome. And I think it only matches the original theme song that he had when he first came in 1997. That's the only other theme song that comes to my mind where it's like, okay, that's a great theme song. Slow Chemical was just fantastic for him. And if you look at those final moments where the theme song's playing, it just goes right back to Kane just looking at the destruction that he caused. It was just beautiful. It was just great. But I've said a lot about this matchup. Mr. Fretz, your thoughts on this brutally brilliant matchup, in my words?
Pull up your pants. We need an ambulance. There's a girl upstairs talking to plants. Yeah, that was a fantastic match. I mean, Evil Kane, Towelhead Kane, underrated is the understatement of the year. My goodness. And Slow Chemical, that is the best use of Finger 11 on WWE, other than what was that? The song they played for Eddie, like One Thing, right in the heart, man. I like the fact that Kane had half his head shaved, but not like. I can't describe it. It's like if you look at the top of, it's like the top of his head is shaved, so he went bald from here to his forehead, and from the top of his head to the back of his neck is completely bald. I'm like, bro, you need the hair club for men or something. Like, what's Cy Sperling? What is Cy Sperling doing these days? He made an appearance at WrestleMania 10. Come on,
right.
And how young Shane looked at this point in time, like. And this was only 16 years ago, and now he looks like a bleached, sunburnt Patrick from SpongeBob. Like, my goodness. And as soon as I saw Shane getting into the ambulance to try and drive it into Kane, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's GTA Shane Andreas. He's like, and he said something like, send it. Send what? It. Like, oh, Jericho, where are you, man? He did a nice rock DDT, and then I like when he got out the trash can. I just because I've been listening to Cultaholic's classic Raw review, I'm just like, oh hey, he's pulling a Duke of the Dumpster Josie. Nice. That Shane Terminator from the roof of the ambulance to that padding was amazing. And yeah, Tombstone dead. Kane was gone. I mean, this buries the feud, but I think Kane could have been used a little bit more effectively after this. I don't know about a title run, to be honest, because Taker versus Kane for the title at Mania?
No, that wouldn't have worked.
I'm not feeling that.
I don't think he would have necessarily won the title. I think that you could still build the whole deal with him and The Undertaker. I just think they should have just had him just be on a rampage. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I lost my toy in Shane. I'm going to pick on somebody else. Maybe he goes after Maven or, oh gosh, who is like kind of like a jobber doing that. Maybe they had like, Booker T versus Kane would have been a good matchup. That would have been nice. And honestly, there's a pretty good build-up for that. You could just have Kane going after Goldust, and Booker T's just like, hell no, you're not picking on my friend. And there you go, Booker T versus Kane at Armageddon. That way we would have gotten that excruciating, deal between Goldberg and Triple H, whatever the fuck that was. And honestly, the first Raw of the new year, they could literally have, Triple H, he's kind of starting off, be like, yeah, I'm the champion, blah, blah, blah. And Kane kind of makes his intentions known. He says, I'm going to win the Rumble. I'm going to WrestleMania. I'm taking that from you. And it's one of those things where it's like, ooh, there's so much story you could play with that. Where, Kane's doing this to get revenge for the fact that he lost that matchup against Triple H. So it's kind of one of those things where like they're slowly picking up where they left off. Anyway, so we get a backstage deal where Brock Lesnar is talked by Josh Matthews. Oh, God. This was a young Josh Matthews that was not a bit of a tool, at least not yet. He basically talks to Brock about, his matchup and, the loss after that. Brock does this denial deal where he's like, I didn't lose. I didn't tap out. He almost kills Josh Matthews, which, in all honesty, back in 2003 probably would have been a blessing considering what we got Josh Matthews now. Then we see Brock saying to somebody, what the hell do you want? In comes Goldberg. And this is where people are just like, oh, we could get Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. Oh my God, this would be awesome. You would get your wish a few months later. Problem is, you wouldn't want it by then. But this was one of those things where it's like, for that build-up, it was great. It was great because people wanted to see this matchup until they both decided we're going to just leave the company. Yeah. The coach, Jonathan Coachman, back when he was a Tool. When was that? Early stages of the Tool. So this is like 2003.
It was 2000 always.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That is true. He basically comes out saying, oh, I'm okay, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. Then we get a special guest appearance by Mark Cuban. Hey, another full circle moment's about to happen. Mark Cuban is interviewed by the coach. He's getting his, opinions about the matchup between Austin and Bischoff, where he just says, I'm looking forward to Austin kicking Eric Bischoff's ass. And then Coach gets this great idea of like, oh, well, I'm going to ask a different question because that question sucks. So what do you think? Would you rather have your NBA referees or the WWE referees? I will say this. Mark Cuban would say a phrase that still holds true to this day. That is, and I quote, all I know is that all referees suck. There's no such thing as a good referee. Mark Cuban, 2003. That was amazing.
Full circle, and this is all sports.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Hockey, football. Oh, we've talked about ref controversies in all the sports. I'm going to simmer because that one will make me.
Well, maybe I don't think this will make you happy, but Eric Bischoff would taunt Mark Cuban to get in the ring and basically say, "Oh, I own this building right now, so I could have security throw you out, or I could throw you out myself." And Mark Cuban's just like, "Oh yeah, whatever." Mark gets shoved by Eric, and then Mark decides to shove Eric back, pushing him on his ass, which was awesome. Then we would get Randy Orton coming in, RKO to Mark Cuban. And why is this a full circle moment? Because about 6 years later, Mark Cuban would get his revenge, which makes sense. And then it would take about another 10 years later for Kofi Kingston to get his revenge on Randy Orton. So, I mean, karma is a slow mistress in this case, but you know something? It's cool. Then we cut into an Evolution deal where Triple H and Flair and Batista, they're celebrating with a bunch of these gorgeous women and with champagne. They're basically celebrating like, oh, I've won the title already. Goldberg is injured and blah, blah, blah. Orton would come into the deal, and this is where it gets weird because just as he's about to say something, he talks to these women and goes, well, hello. And one woman just decides, hey, I'm going to play with your nipples, which is weird. Then another one grabs another one, and it's like, what the absolute is this? And this was back during his whole legend killer deal. So apparently him hitting an RKO on a legend means that he killed that legend. I guess so. But then Orton promises to end the legend of Stone Cold Steve Austin later in the night. And then Triple H just says, okay, you got Austin. I got Goldberg. Because that world title is coming back around my waist. Has Triple H always had that voice? Yes. Yes, he has.
Except for when he was I'm just going to pedigree you. Oh, wow, I sounded like a terrible British right there. But you
amazing.
Like, when he had the nee.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, oh, these. Okay, I was going to talk like William Regal there for a second. Oh,
don't disrespect the Weagle, man.
Games. I'll just say that. There it is.
Fair enough. It's all is forgiven. We go into the next matchup, which is for the WWE Tag Team Championships. We have the Basham Brothers with Shaniqua in their corner defending against Los Guerreros. Now, I will say this. One thing that was actually really cool was that there was a Heat segment with the Guerreros where they're talking backstage about how Eddie ran out on Chavo and he was taking care of like a family member, but that was all set up by the Bashams. And there's a little bit of dissension between the ranks of them, but it seemed like, Eddie was able to, get this thing to come back in his favor, where he's just saying, hey, they disrespected your family. That's my family too. Remember that blood is thicker than water. And I love his quote where he says, like, it's not about me versus you, Vato. It's about kicking some Basham ass tonight and becoming the tag team champions again. Oh my God, Eddie. Oh my gosh. And we're reaching his anniversary too. Sad.
What, 15, 14 years?
I think it's 14 years this month. Yeah. So this matchup here was kind of a slow. Nothing really much you can really say about this. We had the Three Amigos hit early by Eddie. Shaniqua interferes in this by clotheslining Eddie and then scoop slamming him, which that was amazing. We see it's kind of like a decent like back and forth deal where we see Bashams get control, then the Guerreros get control. Shaniqua gets involved again. She gets laid out by Chavo. Eddie hits a frog splash on her, and then we see this deal where Eddie's just like, hey, give her a good one. So Chavo puts Shaniqua over his lap, and we see Shaniqua just kicking and screaming, slap, slap, slap. Yep, we see him basically giving a spanking to Shaniqua. Basham Brothers get involved with that. We see Chavo hitting his tornado DDT, but he accidentally hits Eddie in the back of the head. Chavo gets confused. A little bit of Basham magic, because this was better than twin magic. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Basham Brothers would do a roll-up with the tights. Bashams would steal the victory, and we would still see a little bit of dissension in the ranks between the two of them, where they would just kind of just talk about, what the hell happened there, what was that, and blah, 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 shit like that. Yeah, honestly, this was kind of a forgettable matchup. A little bit entertaining at spots, but nothing really too memorable about this.
Yeah, you want to know something funny?
What's up?
The Bashams aren't actually brothers.
Well, that's actually crazy, because they look legitimately alike. I don't know if that's just a mere coincidence or kind of like a cruel twist of fate that it worked like that, but it was that's crazy, dude. Man.
I didn't know that. I listened to Pritchard he probably reviewed this show or some kind of show from back then, and I'm just like, wait, what? I mean, I know they went by different names on not the Indies, WWE. One of them was called like Danny Basham, and the other one was called like the Machine, Doug Basham. The Damaja, but Damaja. It was some weird face painty dark clown. I don't know what gimmick, but yeah. This was also the Bashams at the beginning of their S&M gimmick.
Oh shit, that's right.
And there was, I have to, just because I thought this was so strange and borderline offensive, but kind of funny at the same time. So they had a match against the Acolytes, the APA. Mm-hmm. Shaniqua, I'll give her that. Tough enough contestant final. I think she graduated the same year as Nydia. Ate a clothesline from hell from Bradshaw. And then a couple of weeks later, she came back with new tits.
Huh.
And then, they're just like, Bradshaw did this to me, and the Bashams just like, just like lusting over, like, okay, creepy, and he's like, yeah, he did this. There's so much swelling, and they're like, oh, they're so swole, like acting like friggin' like her tits are like the ring in their golem or something.
Oh Jesus! Oh God,
that's not aged well. This, of course, was the catalyst for the feud that Eddie and Chavo would have throughout most of 2004.
That is right. And it would all culminate at the Royal Rumble about 2 months later. That's right. Where Eddie would pick up the victory, and then a month later after that would win the WWE title off of Brock Lesnar. So that was just really amazing. But we want to talk about amazing. We're going into the next matchup here. This was originally going to be a watch-along deal, but there's so much to cover here. It's just so hard to just watch it along. So if you haven't gotten a chance, definitely check it out. It's awesome. I think that this is one of the matches that was uploaded by the WWE YouTube deal, because I know they uploaded Goldberg and Triple H from this Survivor Series. Yeah, we'll talk about that briefly. But this was the matchup we were most looking forward to seeing. And to me, it still holds up as one of the best Survivor Series matches of all time. So we have Team Austin versus Team Bischoff. The stipulation being that if Team Austin wins, Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't have to worry about the whole, hold harmless agreement where it's like, if he's physically provoked, he can fight back. He can just raise hell like he always did. But if Team Bischoff wins, then Austin is gone as the general manager. So we get a nice, great package video of them talking about how Austin and Bischoff came to be as partners. Then the whole deal where it builds up to Survivor Series, and just that final line of Austin saying, at Survivor Series you're going to see Stone Cold up close and personal, and that, so help me God, is the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. just that line there just gets you. Oh man, I'm getting chills just remembering that. Each team comes out with their team captain's their theme music. So Eric Bischoff has the team of Scott Steiner, Christian, Chris Jericho, Randy Orton, and Mark Henry. Then Austin team comes out, and it's fully heavily Texan, because you got Stone Cold Steve Austin as the captain. You have Booker T, the Dudley Boys, Rob Van Dam, and Shawn Michaels. It was really one of those things where it's a spectacle. It really is. I do have a note here where somebody had a sign in the crowd that said "Weekzilla," and that just got me chuckling. Oh my god, that was beautiful. A kind of like a pretty good way to start off the matchup. I remember that there were a couple spots where Bischoff was getting pissed, like, "No, come on, ref, come on! What the hell? This should have been elimination," and blah blah blah. Early on, we see a belly to belly by RVD. Onto RVD by Scott Steiner from the top rope. God, that just looked brutal because RVD looked like he just landed on his head. Stop with these head shots, my God. I thought that we were done with that when we had that Chris Jericho deal in WCW, but it's almost like every show that we've talked about has been somebody's landed on their head. It's like, no more concussions, please. Booker T gets tagged in, and he just gets the crowd ready to go. Jerry Lawler makes a comment of 5-timer or hard timer. You, Jerry Lawler. Booker T would hit
I have a line for him too. That's bad.
It's bad. But Booker T would hit the scissors kick on Scott Steiner and then do a spinneroonie. We would see a nice brawl by everybody. Booker T would hit a spinebuster for a near 2 count. Then we would get a low blow by Scott Steiner into the Steiner recliner. Stacy Keibler, who is under the managerial services of Scott Steiner and Test at the time. And oh boy, was that just... that was an interesting story. But Scott Steiner would try to go after Stacy Keibler. Dudley Boys would hit their reverse 3D that they did, the back suplex into the neck breaker. Booker T would hit a bookend. First elimination goes to Team Austin. They get the victory there. But then out comes Mark Henry. Ooh, he gets to be a beast during this deal. Just wrecking everybody's shit. He would hit the World's Strongest Slam on Booker T, tying it up at 4 people apiece. Like I said again, Mark Henry is just wrecking everybody. Wrecking Van Dam. He's wrecking the Dudleys. Going crazy. Mark Henry would go for a splash in the corner, but get nothing but pads. Would get hit with a 3D and then a 5-star frog splash, followed up with a huge dog pile by the Dudley Boys and Mark Henry for the elimination. RVD actually outsmarts Chris Jericho with a split leg and moonsault onto him. I thought that was great. Randy Orton would hit a devastating clothesline to RVD that literally almost looked like he was going to go have a concussion. RVD would get hit with an RKO for the pin there. Randy Orton, I think he brings it up. Yep, he brings it up to a 3-3. Then for some reason during this deal, they decide, hey, let's give Devon some momentum. So Devon is like literally dominating like this part of the matchup. Why? I don't know, but I just see him doing like his reverse elbow deal. He does his saving grace deal. He's getting all this momentum until Chris Jericho comes in. Jericho hits him with the sleeper slam to eliminate him. Bubba would hit this nice like stalling side slam, which was very impressive. It's kind of one of those things where he's just waiting. Boom. Drops him there. And it looks like he's going to hit the Bubba Bomb on Christian, but gets a low blow on Prettier. And Bubba Ray is eliminated. So for those of you keeping track, it's Shawn Michaels versus Christian, Chris Jericho, and Randy Orton. Shawn would try to do his combo early, the forearm, the inverted atomic drops. He would try to go for the elbow, but he would end up getting double teamed. Then he would get catapulted into the ring post. Brutal busted open spot where he just starts pouring blood out of there. Christian would go for the Unprettier, but they get countered into a sweet chin music for the pinfall there. So now it's 2-1, and this is where the crowd is just slowly starting to get into it. They're actually be like, okay, Shawn might actually do this. Shawn is going to be doing it. And Stone Cold is really selling it to where it's like, yes, we're one step closer to this. We're one step closer to this. Chris Jericho tries to go for a lion salt, but he eats some knees. He goes into he tries to go for the walls of Jericho, but then gets a small package. As soon as that 3 count hits, and Chris Jericho is eliminated, the stadium roof just blows because it's like, oh my God, Shawn's going to do it. Shawn's going to do it. He's going to do it. And we just see Austin super happy, and just the reaction that Jericho is just like, no, that was 2, that was 2, that was 2, that was 2. And ref's like, nope, that was 3. Jericho would hit Shawn Michaels in the face with a brutal chair shot where Jericho would just jaw jack Stone Cold, just be like, oh, screw you, Austin, screw you. He would leave, and Austin just like, hey man, that was a 3 count, you're gone. I was surprised he didn't just try to attack him or something like that. Shawn Michaels is just able to get his shoulder up after that brutal shot. Randy Orton, hey, I bet you guys didn't remember this, but he used to do a very damn good crossbody. This was one of those spots where it was kind of brutal because he would go for the crossbody. Shawn would get out of the way, and he would just crush this referee. It was a very messy crossbody landing, and I thought to myself, ooh, that referee's going to need some kind of insurance. Shawn looks like he's about ready to just finish it off. He's tuning up the band. You just feel the crowd getting behind it. But then in comes Eric Bischoff. He attacks Shawn, and Austin's just like, you know what? To hell with this. Goes in, attacks Bischoff, goes crazy, and we get one of the best stunner cells, I should say, in WWE, in which we would see Austin hit Orton with the stunner, and literally Orton just falls back, and as soon as the back of his head hits the pavement, it looks like he just flops over. He's like a little test dummy. He's just jelly. It's beautiful. So Austin is just beating down Eric Bischoff. He's just like, you want to try and screw me? Okay, well, I'm going to kick your ass. Shawn thinks that he's going to have the victory here. But then out comes Batista. He comes in, Batista bomb on Shawn. Orton would crawl to the cover. And you thought that the whole deal with Ziggler and Rollins was just brutally slow. This felt like centuries of waiting. And the problem was that wait was not prosperous. Orton would pin Shawn Michaels for the victory, giving Team Bischoff the victory. Stone Cold is removed as the general manager of Monday Night Raw. And I'm even keeping the little segment with Stone Cold separate from this, but the post-match deal, we just see Stone Cold. He looks disappointed, but he also is helping Shawn up. He's basically just giving him this giant pat on the back, and Shawn is just saying, dude, I am so sorry. And you remember the history that these guys have where, they were tag team partners, they had so much hate with each other. To go from that to this moment where Shawn is so emotional, saying, dude, I am so sorry I let you down. And Austin is just saying, you did your best, and that's all I can ask for. It's just heart-wrenching. This was a lot to take in. This matchup holds up even, this is 16 years into the future. This is one of the best Survivor Series matches of all time. So good. Storytelling was great. Wrestling was just on par. Everything just fit into place, and the crowd was into it. That's the one thing that got me involved. That was one of the greatest things. Just, seeing Shawn just slowly, inch by inch, get closer to that victory, and just having those people just slowly just getting involved in it, going from a medium yeah, Shawn's got the victory, that's cool, to him beating Jericho. Oh my God, yes, this is going to happen. Everything's going to be amazing. And then to have the end just like that, it's just emotionally heart-wrenching. Mr. Fretz, anything you would like to add on to this matchup?
Oh yeah. I think actually the storyline to this was Steve was going to be, quote, gone from the WWF, not only relieved as co-Raw GM, like co-GM. That was a fun run. And they had this little story in there. It's like, hey, this is a must-win. You know how you say DTA, Steve? Don't trust anyone. Well, even your team, you can't trust them. Christian, this was what they were referencing, being a CLB, creepy little bastard, LOL. Right. And Jerry Lawler, like, you were on perversion form here tonight, dude. And he was just like, oh, hey, I heard Stacy has an organ donor's card. I'm an organ donor, too. He's talking about his dick.
Yeah.
Like, it's obvious. Come on, dude. And then Big Papa Dump, why was he still there? I mean, that guy couldn't move. Like, he couldn't move his entire run in the Fed. And I saw him wrestle live, and he could not do anything. And Big Papa Dump, that's the UK RA podcast guys for that one. All credit goes to there. And that Sleeper Slam that Jericho used, do you remember the name of it?
I do not, actually.
The Breakdown.
Oh, that's right. Now that you say that, it makes sense.
He used the Breakdown. He used another move that looked like the Stroke or the Skull Crushing Finale, and I thought that was the Breakdown, but that was called something else. I can't remember. Just called Stroke. And when HBK went down 3-1 HBK, he goes full HBK, like just heart of gold. You think you can do it. You're cheering him on, and you're cheering him on. And me, I'm not a huge HBK guy. I big time respect him, but I was like, I'd be rooting. So if I was watching this live, I would have been rooting so hard for him because I love Steve Austin. He's probably my third all-time favorite, right below the Hart brothers. And that blade job HBK did, he gacked himself good. Like, he must have hit a vein or something up there because it gacked hard. Christian doing his, he did the HBK pose.
Oh, that's
I thought, like, oh, you prick. That's why I love Christian. You have the super kick, he falls on him, and this was a full circle moment. My water is done. My bubbly is done. I don't want to go all the way to my fridge. Full circle moment. Mania 19, HBK, Chris Jericho, right back at, and JR. His calling in this match, he was just, it's a bleeding, bleeding heart's not the word I'm looking for it, but he was just calling his heart out. Like, come on, Sean! By God! Come on, do it, Sean! You can do it, kid! And it's like, Stone Cold! Like, oh, you're taking me back to 1998 with that Stone Cold call. I loved it when Orton ate the stunner, and then, fuck you, Batista. It took me a long time for me to come around on Batista after this because I was a quote-unquote mark, and I don't take that as an insult, by the way. Just, my goodness, everything about this match. And there's one thing, it was actually the UK Ruthless Pod guys said, it was like, end of the match, when Steve Austin realized he was gone from the company, and I kind of agree with him because it just would have been funny. He should have just came out and killed everyone. Like, he gets Shawn Michaels up, boom, stuns him. And then boom, stuns Bischoff, boom, stuns, like, Orton, Batista. He should have just went, like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm out of here. I'm just going to go out, like, guns a-blazing, going out in a blaze of glory in Texas, no less. But I'm also glad that he went out the way he did, but he came back 3 weeks later as the sheriff instead of the co-GM. So they were trying to find ways to keep Steve Austin on, and I loved it because I'm a big Steve Austin mark, but they treated this go away as, I think they didn't know what they were going to have with it. He's just like, I started my career in Dallas. It's so fitting that I end it here. I love the shit out of you guys. He should have waited until at least, like, post-Royal Rumble to return. If they treated his exit, his loss, as emotional as this. But they kind of just played a little fiddle there for you. He should have returned way later, but this was probably the best 5-on-5 Survivor Series match I have ever seen. Just everything from JR's calling it to the HBK coming back from the insurmountable odds to the talent in this. I mean, we had Michaels, RVD, Booker T, Chris Jericho, Christian, young Randy Orton. The talent in that ring was just bar none, and having Stone Cold involved and Bischoff being the evil dickhead heel and Coach. Coach getting the piss knocked out of him after the match. Like, he should have done that to Bischoff. But I've went on. I would have loved having a watch along for this, but given the fact that we're 10 minutes to midnight, I'm like, my bed's right behind me there, man.
Well, we definitely will not, just straight too much. We'll definitely make these. Well, these last two matches are like so forgettable, in all honesty. So the first thing that we have here was the Buried Alive match between Undertaker and Vince McMahon. The story built up around here was that Vince McMahon made this deal where he's like, as long as I'm breathing in and breathing out, you'll never be the WWE champion. Never. So this was Undertaker's way of saying, hey, this is me basically making sure that Vince McMahon doesn't breathe anymore. And this is also during the time where he beat the piss out of his daughter at No Mercy, making her leave in the I Quit match. So he thinks this is he is doing God's work to do this. The fact that he got 2 back-to-back victories in pay-per-views is so stupid. I really hated this. It's a spoiler, but everybody knows what happens here. What they probably don't remember from this matchup was that Vince McMahon, oh my God, he came out, hands clasped in a prayer deal, talks to the Undertaker like he's somehow better than him. Undertaker's just like, okay, pop, right in the kisser. And you see, Undertaker even shake his hand at how hard he punched Vince McMahon. Vince is bleeding like a stream all over his face. And it's even worse than the whole deal with him and Hogan earlier that year. It was literally his head was just gushing like a fountain. Undertaker is basically just, dominating this deal until they get to the grave, and then Vince is like, oh, I'm going to finally get some offense. I'm going to hit him in the face of the shovel. I'm going to throw him in the deal. Then Undertaker just decides, nope, you're coming into the hole with me. Just goes in there, and then Undertaker, he goes to the trailer that was there. He looks like he's going to do a deal where he's going to dump the dirt on him. Boom, flash of fire. They make this deal oh, Undertaker's knocked out by it. And it's Kane. That's gotta be Kane. Kane comes out, throws the Undertaker into the grave, pulls Vince McMahon out, says, hey, bury him right now. He does the classic Undertaker dead man, arm up, dirt falls, Undertaker is buried alive. I hate to say it, he's buried alive again. It's not the first time he's been buried alive, but it won't be the last, probably. No, it's not the last.
No, it won't be.
And ironically enough, the next time he would be buried by Kane would be at Bragging Rights, not Survivor Series. So it was kind of one of those things another full circle moment, sort of, kind of. That basically built up the Undertaker versus Kane feud at WrestleMania. We see that shit. Oh, jeez, that match was horrible. Less said about that match, the better. But same thing you could say about this matchup. All I remember from this match was Vince getting bloodied, Undertaker dominating, and that's about it. And this is where Biker Taker dies. That's probably the best way to put this matchup.
Okay. Vince McMahon was so weird in this build-up. He was going full-blown right-wing religious nutbag, and there was one line. I am chosen to slaughter the infidel. What the... That line in 2003. Are you mental, Vince? And there is a thing in behind this whole McMahon acting like I'm chosen by God to take out McMahon. Oh, and like Jacob in the book of Genesis, he wrestled God in 2006. I actually tapped out for a month after that, because that's where I drew the line. I'm like, okay, if you're going to ridicule my faith at that, I just had to tap out for a month. But they had this whole thing, I am chosen by God, slaughter the infidel, while the Lord's Prayer is being chanted in the background. This build was so weird. And the match was nothing. It was just Vince McMahon getting the piss knocked out of him, and then, it's leading up to Kane. You're leading up to the gimmick change. You're leading to the return of the dead man. I am protected by a higher power, himself. And at the beginning of this, though, Taz's keys to victory. Here's how you do it, Cole. Yeah. Taker's gotta put Vince McMahon in the hole, Cole. Here comes the pain. Oh, wait. You already came out, Cole? Well, whatever. Taker, here comes the pain, too. This reminded me of Bobby Heenan's brain scan, kind of.
Yeah.
But...
You know, it's really weird, because there are some of those moments where I actually do like those they make those kind of build-ups really great, where it's like, okay, well, here's what they need to do to, have that. Because I know in TNA they had Mike Today doing the X factors for this entire deal, where they talk about the build-up. They talk about, what would probably benefit this person. And it's like, okay, this is kind of cool. So seeing that kind of deal with Taz's keys to victory, I was like, I kind of miss that kind of gimmick, where they actually do that kind of random deal. So if Raw would do that and bring that back, I'd be okay with it. But please, for the love of God, don't let Corey Graves or Michael Cole do it, because I will literally probably just jump off a building.
It'd be like Dio Madden's Dragon Ball something nerdy to victory, which, okay, I love Dio Madden. By the way, I love Dio Madden. He's such a big nerd. But we're talking about a full circle moment here. Once again, that spot where McMahon had his ankle on the steps and Undertaker brought up the stairs and shattered it?
Oh, yeah.
That is how Vince McMahon landed in the hospital in 1998, which gave us the birth of Yerple the Clown, Mr. Sacco, and the bedpan incident.
Oh, shoot, that's right.
And that was Undertaker and Kane beating the piss out of McMahon, landing Vince in the wheelchair for a short period of time. So, and the fact that Taker and Kane is involved here, that's just, man, if that's not a full circle moment.
I mean, for a shitty match as that kind of full circle moment, what more can be said except, oh, hey, we're going to be dealing with a crappy main event. Yeah, the tag team match should have closed the show. But we're talking about it anyway. Goldberg defending his world title against Triple H. What can I say about this matchup other than Biker Short Triple H was an abomination. This matchup went too long. I get it. Goldberg was supposed to play injured in this deal, but again, this matchup was too long. Just some weird back and forth deal. Triple H doing his technical prowess. What technical prowess? Exactly. Goldberg would grab the sledgehammer from Triple H. He would beat down Evolution. Then he would hit the spear, the jackhammer, pick up the victory. This match was so forgettable. I could not care less about it. And hey, we would get Kane and Triple H challenging Goldberg the following month. Triple H would continue his reign of terror until WrestleMania 20 because reasons, and because they didn't want to give Goldberg another shot, and they wanted him to do different moves. I don't know. It's really stupid. There's so much shit for this. But yeah, this was a forgettable main event. They screwed Goldberg royally when they had that moment at SummerSlam where it's like, you could have had Goldberg be undefeated. You could have had him win the title. Nope, you decide, bullshit. Sledgehammer to the head. 1, 2, 3. That's apparently his kryptonite. That's stupid. Alright, I'm done ranting. So, do you have anything to even add for this main event, or?
Bro, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I turned it off before the main event. I stopped watching.
Really?
I'm like, I remembered it was bad, and I'm like, okay, this is like 12 minutes long, and it's like 11 minutes too long. I know what happens. And I was just tired. I'm like, okay, I am kind of wrestling out. And the fact that I was doing a couple of different time shifts this week also did me in, so I'm like, nah, man. And I know what was coming just because I've been listening to the Ruthless Pods about this too, so it was junk. Goldberg's world title run in 03, I think, was kind of a botch, kind of a misstep. They should have kicked it off at SummerSlam. And they pooped the bed with this. And Triple H biker shorts, well, he had to be working around a groin injury. So, they did look dumb.
They could have done something different. We could have had Batista versus Goldberg for the title, which would have made sense because Batista was the reason why Goldberg was injured in the first place. But no, let's just do Triple H and Goldberg again. I hate everything.
Yep.
Alright, so that's concluding the 2003 Survivor Series, you guys. It's a pretty good show, top to bottom, up until probably the last two matches. It does keep your interest going. In all honesty, even though I've given a little bit of grief to the tag team title matchup, it still had some entertaining moments to it. It was still vastly forgettable, but at the same time, it still was worth watching. You at least wanted to see if the Guerreros can pick the titles up again. But yeah, the Buried Alive match didn't really do much for me. Main event was just like, I am numb. I might be having a heart attack, or I might just be dying inside. But this was just stupid. Yeah, so that's it, really. I mean, 2003, still a really good event, but just don't, once you reach the Buried Alive match, just shut it off. I think that's the best way of putting it. Consider the 2003 main event, Stone Cold's team versus Bischoff's team, and just have the deal where Stone Cold and the whole beer deal in the ring. That's it. Just click, boom, you're done. Then you can call it one of the greatest Survivor Series of all time. But, alright, so we're going to wrap this up because we're literally, like, to the point where I got to get some sleep and get ready for work tomorrow. He's got to do the same thing. So, closing deals, guys. As we mentioned before, thank you so much to everybody who nominated us for the Wrestling Hub Wrestling Podcast Awards. It really means a lot that we did that. Everybody at Wrestling Addict Radio really does appreciate the support and love that you guys give us, and let's hope that we can get some of these victories. We really would love to just see Wrestle Addict Radio get that big win. I personally would really love to see the Game Changer Podcast take home one award, and in all honesty, most informative. I'm giving that. I want to see Mr. Fretz take that. I really do. That's just how great he is and how fantastic of a podcast that he puts on. If you haven't listened to it yet, go check it out, the Fretzelmania podcast. And there's a lot of bigger things that are coming, so definitely tune into that. We are in so many podcast media forums that I cannot just tell you what it is. You have to just check it out. Main ones you can check us out are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, So many fantastic places, you guys. So, Mr. Fretz, who you can find on the legendary JF on Twitter, myself at RealFNGame, and everybody at the Wrestle Addict Radio Network at Addict_Wrestle, including us here at the Game Changer Podcast, the Kings of the Rings Podcast, the Gifted Podcast, Fourth Wall WrestleCast, and Nacho Mama Soap Opera Podcast. We thank you for the love. We thank you for the support. We will talk to you guys in the next episode. It's been a very interesting week, and honestly, I think we're going to get some more interesting build-up going into the future. Survivor Series is just around the horizon, and we got some more Survivor Series deals that we're going to be talking about. So stay tuned for more great episodes. We'll talk to you guys in the next one. And just remember, wrestling is good. Appreciate it, and don't be hypersensitive. Have a good one, you guys. I need a crash, dude.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm away next week, folks, just so you'll see me in 2. Peace out.
All right.